It's 6:15, so I'm going to officially open the November 22nd, 2022 open session meeting of the Ayer Planning Board. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair
Yes.
votes aye, it's unanimous. So we don't have any covenant or bond releases, so that brings us right
Correct.
to the site plan hearing. So I'm going to read the public and invite Mr. Bemis up. I'm going to read the announcement, and then I'm going to ask for a vote to open up the hearing. So, Ayer Planning Board site plan public hearing for Randolph and Baldwin 17 Bly Street.
Oh, okay, if we decide to, yep.
The Town of Ayer Planning Board will conduct an in-person public hearing at 6:15 p.m. on Tuesday, November 22nd, 2022, in the first floor meeting room at the Ayer Town Hall, regarding the application of Randolph and Baldwin for site plan approval for an addition to the existing building located at 17 Bly Street. The applicant is seeking approval for a 1,792 square foot addition to the existing industrial building, which is 16,816 square feet. The property is located in Ayer's light industrial zoning district. Application and plans can be viewed at the offices of the Ayer Planning Board and Town Clerk at 1 Main Street, Town Hall, Ayer, Massachusetts, during normal business hours. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing for 17 Bly Street?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Do I have a discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of opening?
Yes.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, it's unanimous. Yes, sir. I read it.
Oh, you read the whole
I
thing?
read the whole thing,
Okay.
right.
Oh,
It's already
Yes, the clerk was missing.
No, I
Yes.
read it. So, did you want to make comments first, or should I invite Mr.
Yeah,
Bemis?
yeah.
Okay.
To me, this is, okay, I brought up the property on Mr. Mapper right behind you. And I'll let Mr. Bemis give most of the presentation, but just to orient, this is Bly Street on the other side of the railroad tracks, obviously. And I believe the proposed addition is right here in part of the parking lot.
Correct.
So this is a, very simple site plan addition, 1,792 square feet out of, this whole parcel. I think is relatively minor. There were many items in the checklist that I thought were not really applicable given the very minor nature of this. I did print out my staff report of all
Oh, I
things
think I
in
have
front
it
of
for
me,
you.
but
Somewhere.
I think given the minor nature of it, the plan is complete in terms of what we need.
If you need it.
Yes. Yeah, and I did circulate this through all the department heads, and nobody had any concerns. It's outside of the wetland buffer. It's also outside of the 100-foot floodplain. So, yeah, I think right now at this point it would be good to get the applicant's description.
So we just start with your name, organization, and your relationship to the applicant.
Correct, thank you. Peter Bemis, Engineering Design Consultants. So we've been involved in this facility now for probably about 10 years. So we helped them with the first addition that they put on a number of years ago. And then we paved this front portion of the site, which is really just a staging area for their operation.
Mhm.
So when Randolph Baldwin reached out to us and said they were going to be putting this robotic unit on site, they said, well, it's like a feature product for them, and they said we would really like to enclose it. And I was like, well, okay, if you're going to put it on top of the existing pavement, that's probably the easiest thing to do, because now we don't have a stormwater issue, we don't have a coverage issue, we're just displacing this area, and we've already got an overhead door there, and it will make a connection to the building. So that's pretty much it. We did a proposed plot plan, spoke to the building inspector about that. Then we had our architectural plans drawn up, and then we realized that you don't have a provision for minor site plan review, that it trips everything that's in your industrial commercial facilities. You have to go through this. So we're here tonight for that purpose. I really don't think this rises to the level of a complete site plan, so we tried to address all of your commentary in the checklist. And when it seemed appropriate, we put some notes down, but for the most part, it was kind of really just kind of skip over. So I apologize, I don't have a really in-depth review. I just want you to know we're putting in a robotic unit. There's going to be a crane in there to be able to lift items, and I think they're a good corporate neighbor for you, making more investment in the town, and we're ready to advance to a building permit with your support. So again, I'd be happy to answer any other questions you have, but it's a site that was, provisioned to be able to do these sorts of things.
Mhm.
So, thank
So-
you for your time.
With, you said mentioned the existing overhead door on the current building.
Yes.
So are you implying that you don't expect to have to cut a larger hole for
Correct.
connectivity?
Yeah, actually, I did bring the photos that are on the thumb drive, so it'll just help you probably envision how this connects.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
May I
sir.
ask a question while we're doing this?
Of course.
Excuse me. Thank you for bringing the elevations. It's a shed roof, basically. It's a one-for-one. You're just elevating the roof up about 11 feet
sorry.
above a already paved area, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And the water's going to shed does the water shed in the same direction it's currently shedding? off the,
Exactly, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
So site photos?
Site photos.
Yeah, because otherwise you're going to have exactly the same exhibit,
Oh, right.
which we can go to. So this is standing at Bly Street. This is looking to the northeast, excuse me, southeast, because northeast would be in my back. So the next picture is looking at their entrance, so they've got a gate there, and then the fence coming across the left. So again, this is now a head-on view to the existing building. And there's one more pan view, if we could, to the, correct. Now you're looking at the extent of the property. So that's pretty much our frontage from right to left. Now I'm looking at the area where the addition will go in. So that's the overhead door.
Pretty much where the truck is standing.
So right
Correct,
here?
right where that truck is, yes.
So it'd be constructed right here?
Correct. And if you just advance one more photo, I'm standing right next to the truck now, and now you can see head-on where that's going to go. So that other door to the right will stay, and the connection will be right there where that truck is, and it will probably extend out just a little bit beyond that truck. It's
And
not
so-
a very big addition.
Same materials?
Yes, sir, same
style
color,
roof?
same everything. It's the
Okay.
same art, the architect's the same builder. Everything's gonna be the same. And at this point, because we're entering into winter conditions, could very well be that we don't advance until like March, at this point. They may still go ahead, but by the time we get our building permit, we figure we're gonna be closer to the end of December. And it may just put it into winter conditions, which is just gonna cost much more to do the work. So we may wait the 3 months.
Good. Board members, questions?
One question. You're not going to put down a concrete pad? It'll just be built on the pavement?
Oh, no, there's a foundation for this. Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, footings, foundation.
Yeah,
We're just gonna displace that pavement.
correct.
I've asked my questions. I was curious what the roof structure was going to be and how it was going to shed water, so.
I had a conversation with Mr. Bemis before the meeting began, that I understood that the activities of Randolph and Baldwin are confidential. And, but I've been assured that, no, it's not a gateway to the upside down. It's not being built on the Hellmouth. And my understanding is the purpose of the shed is to protect a very expensive and sophisticated piece of equipment, that it's worth the investment to build the shed.
Not a shed.
Well,
Right.
I'm covering the addition, yes.
Is it gonna be heated?
To the extent that the existing building is, because that's the connection, but there wasn't gonna be any separate mechanical units in here. The power is right there as well, so it's gonna be fairly easy for them to bring power into the site.
So looking at the existing building, my name's Ken, incidentally, thank you. I can see some downspouts and whatnot to collect roof water. Is that simply just discharge on the ground now? Is that the way it goes? Because you
Yes, sir.
mentioned that there wasn't gonna be an effect on the stormwater, but,
Correct, there is none.
so this shed roof is gonna have no downspouts? It's just gonna cascade off the side?
It'll be the same gable, so that part of it will come
Same
onto the
gable.
pavement, right?
Okay, so same
Yep.
elevation
Yep.
as that, coming right
Correct.
off that
Yes, sir.
elevation? Okay, thank you. I had one interesting comment that I'm not quite sure if this means a thing or not. So in the drawing of the site plan, proposed plot plan, I guess you call it, rather, you refer to it as parcel A, where it's a lot. In our language, a parcel is different from a lot. Why did someone call that parcel A?
That's the way the lot is set up. That's how the surveyor put the plot plan together. It's on a plan of land, probably identified as A, but it could have said Lot A versus Parcel A.
Yeah,
That's the
Lot
full,
A.
that's the full acreage of the parcel.
I know that, but
So we're using parcels and lots, I guess, independently, and I know what you're saying, because you're looking at a parcel saying it doesn't constitute a lot.
Exactly.
I understand.
So you're happy with that language?
That's the nomenclature that the surveyor uses, yes.
Mr. Richard Reed?
Yes, sir.
Oh, isn't he an old time?
No, he's a little bit younger than me, but he's been practicing for a long time, and I'll mention your comment to him.
No, you won't.
Rick is no, not being older. No, about the part, but yeah, Mr.
So-
Diskin's comment.
So it will surprise nobody that you ran afoul of Mr. Dixon's discussion of lots and plots and parcels.
But I tend to follow your rationale for describing things, because I use parcel when it's not, when
Exactly.
it's a small little wedge somewhere.
And that's our definition of an unbuildable piece.
Yeah,
It's carved
okay.
off of a lot or somewhere
Well,
else.
I'm not sure what it carried forward from, but
I'm just curious if it's on a plot plan, it's on a previous
Right.
plot plan as a parcel, and no one's upgraded it.
No, it isn't. It's listed as a lot. It's
Is it?
3330, whatever the number
Right,
is.
it is
Okay.
illegal.
Oh, yeah,
It
yeah,
is
yeah.
certainly
Oh yeah, but
illegal.
if parcel A just happens to be left over, it's a vestigial,
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
a vestigial. That happens all the time.
that's what I was gonna anticipate, that if you
Yeah.
probably went to the plan of land for this site, it probably says parcel. And so it's carried forward, because that's what it says on that plan.
And future
And that
gen-
must have predated your involvement in the board, sir.
it absolutely did.
Because it wouldn't have passed your muster.
And future generations get to play with that one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think that's about all I have. Going forward.
One more question, which is this power easement. Is that just, that stopped? It doesn't
Yeah,
continue?
that was an interesting twist, yeah.
It just,
If I can just look at this.
No, please do.
This drawing doesn't show it, interestingly enough, but the GIS does show it that I looked at.
So coming across the pond, that's of record, so I
Yeah.
have no knowledge of how that's set up, but it's definitely of record, and that's what it's shown.
Oh, this, yes.
Oh, it
Go
does.
through the building, which is kind of neat.
it does continue, okay.
Uh,
According to
Yeah,
that, that's,
goes,
we've
goes
learned
the
that
water.
So you saw that
GIS is
too?
not entirely accurate.
Oh, yeah, no, I believe it has this configuration that's shown on this plan. We would have shown it all the way through if it carried through. So, but it could very well be that it's not necessarily an overhead, it could be an underground, like, Holtman Aqueduct, for example, goes through the town of Southborough where our office is located. It goes under houses, but it's down,
Deeded right
you know, but it's still there, it shows on our maps, so we know where it's located.
Mhm.
But I have no idea what the history is of that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's cut off on the drawing.
It crosses the water for sure, but I don't believe it continues through.
Yeah,
Interesting.
that's
Okay.
cool.
Any further questions?
Another artifact of
Right.
past planning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If the board is ready, I recommend approval.
Yeah, if you
I
could, I
think
mean,
of any-
we still have a
Yeah,
chance of doing it this year, but
Yeah.
I'm being more realistic to tell you that it probably would be March.
Take a step to accept the application.
Oh, yes, we
Would like to
Yeah.
move to accept the
Yeah.
Two
application?
steps, right?
Do I have
Right,
a
yeah.
second on the accepting the application?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none? Yes,
I just-
go ahead.
That's
I'm just
Just
gonna
to
go back
accept
to
the
the
application.
plan, I'll give him a
Yes.
chance to say that everything is complete.
yes.
We can talk
yes,
about it
with-
So
yes.
acceptance is not, to we accept it for, I know it's a little
For
weird.
consideration.
You-
Yeah, it's a
You're
little
carrying
small
yourselves
step.
very well, because I have other boards that forget to make motions and get things done, so believe me.
Oh, no, yeah.
We're doing it in the
Your
same-
formalness is good, I
We're doing it in the
appreciate it.
same meeting tonight,
Yeah.
okay?
So did we get,
We have moved and second,
Did we get a
yes.
second?
Yes.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, unanimous for the acceptance.
Yep. Now,
And
I recommend
it's
approval.
complete.
I could not think of any special additions for something like this.
Me neither.
So I think it's a simple.
Mark, would you do me a
approval.
favor and read what your recommendation was for the approval motion? Did you write one?
Yeah, it's in
Yes.
the report that.
Oh, Mr. Chair, would you read it? I don't have it with me.
Yep, 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 yep. Let's see. So the recommendation is I recommend that the planning board accept the application package, which we just did. And then for findings, I recommend the planning board find that the site plan for an addition at 17 Bly Street meets the site plan approval criteria found in the section 3.5.4 of the air zoning bylaw.
So moved.
Seconded.
Discussion?
Briefly, did we hear, I thought there was a department that had no comment? But
There were several that had no comment, means they're not really concerned.
Okay, but you have
But
gotten-
DPW, conservation, those that were, fire did not have any comments.
Everyone got back to you?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yep.
All in favor of the finding?
Aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Unanimous on the finding. So finally, that brings us to the third comment here. Recommendation, the board is ready at the November 22nd meeting. I recommend the planning board approve the site plan for an addition 17 Bly Street. And there are no conditions, no special conditions are found here, and I couldn't think of any.
So moved.
Sorry, go ahead.
Good, all right.
Got a move? Got a second?
Seconded.
Seconded. Discussion.
Discussion. So, Mark, I understand based on what I read and the chairman just read, that there are no special conditions, but all our site plan approvals include general conditions.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the general conditions will be included in the
Yes,
approval.
yes,
Yes.
that's really like.
I
clean up
fully
the
expect
site.
that, that's fine.
Yeah, hours of operation, the basic town-wide things that
Sure.
apply to all site plans.
Okay. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. It's unanimous approval. Congratulations,
Great,
Mr.
thank you.
Bemis.
Appreciate it
Wish you
very
Best
much.
of luck.
Okay, I will get your.
Okay, great, yeah, I'll need it
People
again.
forget them all the time.
Nice to see you all.
We get a fortune.
Wow.
I'm glad you grabbed it.
That is electricity.
Second one.
Dealing with some hazard.
Uh-huh.
I spent
Town planner update, sir.
this morning discussing a one-ton bridge train.
Okay, before we get into the work session,
Close the public hearing.
Move to close the public hearing for
Second.
17 Bly.
Seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, closing the hearing?
Aye.
Yes.
Chair votes aye. It's unanimous. Thank you, Heather.
yep. I know the rest of the meeting is largely a work session focused on the 2023 work plan, as well as reviewing the RFP for engineering review for Stratton Hill definitive plan. But before we get into that, one thing I know that is coming before us soon is the Nasoya addition
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
large. Attorney Gibbons is representing the applicant, and I spoke with him. There's a possibility they may try for the 13th, but the deadline for that is they might not make it, I don't think. They would have had to have gotten it in this week, which I don't think will happen. So they may want to meet with us on Tuesday, December 27th. So that prompts me to ask everybody, will we have a quorum on the 27th, 2 days after Christmas?
Oh, what?
Will we have a quorum on
Are you
the
gonna show up?
27th in order to hold a public hearing for the Nasoya?
This is more important.
I'll be there.
I'll be
No,
there.
I'm just asking.
I'm not traveling,
Because,
so-
if I have to, I should let
It's a
Mr.
good
Gibbons
question.
know.
A lot
Yes.
of people do travel, especially.
Yes,
during-
I'll be here this year. Some
We're-
years I was
yeah.
I was
not.
just gonna say.
We're actually pretty fortunate this year that the holiday falls on the weekend, because it does scramble all of the meetings in town hall.
Right.
You got off easy this year, Mr. Chair.
I do indeed.
So we will have a quorum, so I could tell
Yep.
them the 27th works? Okay.
So,
I'm not guaranteeing I'll be here, but I might, I don't have a reason to not be here yet.
All right, as long as we, have a quorum.
You've got a whole month.
Yeah, and that'll be a
Oh.
fairly involved one too, which I doubt will be a one evening site plan.
Any- Okay.
For the
Quick
Nasoya.
comment on that.
Yes,
You understand that they had to go to the Board of Appeals for height?
Yes.
And
Is
they
that-
didn't get it on, they couldn't get it done, so
Right.
that
That's-
Board of Appeals meeting, I don't think is till like
the
the
30th.
21st.
The 30th
Oh,
of
they're gonna meet-
November. Yeah, they're meeting in November, but it could be
Okay.
that they want to wait until they get the yeah, that's right. In order to meet the deadline for the 13th, they would have applied before they knew what happens on the 30th with their variance.
Okay.
So because of that, I think they're gonna look at the 27th now.
Are you guys familiar with the variance, one of the variances they're asking for?
Nope.
No. Should we be? Would
It's-
you
Well,
like
it's
to
kind of
inform
interesting.
us?
It's a
Yeah, I'd be
75-foot
interested.
high building, so they're asking for a height variance.
Mhm.
How tall is the
This
existing
is-
building? Any idea? Nasoya? Think it's that tall?
This is, however, the Nasoya building is actually down below road grade over there.
Right.
I would be interested if if I may ask, it would be nice to know what the height of the building would be in relevance to the current tree height
Yeah, exactly.
Because I don't know, I'm gonna guess where the foundation of that building sits might be 9, 10, or 12 feet below the road that goes by it.
Well, it's going to the, it went to the ZBA, but they currently didn't have enough data to take it out
Yeah,
of the meeting.
but I would just be curious, so, you know, if we could get it,
Something
if we could
happening.
make a request of the applicant to say, could you please, you know,
To the tree.
show us
line.
where the,
Yep.
you know,
Meaning, is it visible from the street?
it's gonna be visible from the street, but will it tower over the trees, or will we
Yeah.
discover that it's somewhere near the current tree height?
That's a
Find out.
good question.
I
Yep.
mean, it's a ZB, that's a zoning board of appeals piece,
Right.
but I would just be honestly curious, and I think they'd be willing to share that information and help make the decision easy.
Right, yep. Good. The other piece of information is I'm going to be out for approximately a week because I'm getting knee surgery. Yeah.
Which week are you gonna be out?
Well, it's starting next Thursday, December 1st. The reason I'm out that day is I have to take a PCR COVID test at least a day before, and then quarantine at home until my procedure. That's the rules. But the actual procedure is next Friday, the 2nd. And I'm technically out until Tuesday, the 6th. But, you know, depending on how my knee feels, plus I haven't talked to the surgeon yet, they may advise taking that whole week or not. I'm not sure, but I can't imagine it being much longer than that, so.
Good luck, Mark.
Yeah, good luck on
Good
that.
look.
Yeah, so it's the meniscus. I'm not getting a replacement, you
Okay.
know, it's just
Wear
wear
and tear. That would be
wear and
really
tear
good.
through the years, you know.
Yeah.
But
It's all that
hopefully-
bird watching.
Well, the hiking.
Yeah.
so-
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Hiking up mountains more,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what did it.
Anything else on town planner update?
Yeah, most of the rest of it has to do with
work sessions?
the work session, yes.
Have you had time to review the revisions to the September 8th and September 27th meeting minutes? Can we approve those today or vote on those today?
I can,
I think I wasn't at one of them, and so I'm not gonna, but you guys.
It would
it's
be
enough
in
of
the
you.
minutes.
I know, that's why I said I can't
Okay.
vote tonight.
September 8th, you said, and the 22nd?
In the
I forget the
board-
dates.
27th.
The 8th and 27th? Move to approve the September 8th meeting minutes?
second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, it's unanimous.
I'm gonna
Move to
abstain.
approve the.
Oh,
no.
I'm sorry,
I'm
I
sorry.
made an error, Heather.
I got it.
4
She-
yeas,
she's
1
got me.
abstention, sorry.
Move to approve the November 27th meeting minutes?
Second.
What?
All in favor?
September
Oh,
27th.
All in favor?
September 27th,
Any
yes.
discussion?
Any discussion, I'm sorry.
We're just discussing the date, 27th, I believe.
Okay,
I,
yep,
I
it's
left my
27th.
I left my pile at home, sorry. No discussion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
I
and-
abstain.
And we have 4 in favor, 1 abstention.
That's gonna
Before we
be
go
fine.
into this, I'm
Yep.
gonna call a brief 5-minute recess.
Sure.
We'll be right back. Thank you. Okay, we're back in session.
Yes.
Um,
The joy of
Did you,
That's why I abstain.
you want to walk us through the memorandum? What do you, what's
Sure,
your
we could
propo-
start with
what do you
that.
want, you want to start with the, which one do you want to start with? The
It
the
doesn't-
RFP? Let's start with the RFP.
Yeah, all right, sure.
So what we have before us is a potential RFP for a third-party engineer consult to review Stratton Hill. I did call Dan, Dan Fiskalquick, of course, our director of DPW, and asked if, would the engineering view something that we should do in-house at his town? And he said, boy, he would really prefer a third party because, Dan, of course, was the engineer, has become the director, and the engineer spot is
Still unfilled.
Still unfilled.
Yeah.
They are, they are negotiating with somebody that they like. But right now, it's still unfilled, and they would appreciate the help. So I just want to clarify that for everybody, so that we got that word from Dan. And then, so Mark has produced the draft of the RFP, and I thought it'd be worthwhile for us to review and discuss some of the items in it. Should I lead with my comments, or do anyone?
I'll just give a brief
Give a
overview
brief
of how
overview?
it
Go
was
ahead.
developed. Basically, since most of the RFPs I do are for traffic studies, I went online to the Mass Planners listserv and I solicited, people and planners in other towns. I said, please send me what you've done for engineering review. So I get a few models, and I base this on that, on what I've received from other towns. Back like 2 or 3 months ago, I shared a very early version of this with Dan Van Schalkwijk, who gave me his comments, though I'm not sure that everything in here now necessarily has been reviewed by him, since I've added to it since then. In prior conversations with some of you, there was a bit of a concern that we shouldn't reiterate the need for traffic study, at least, or looking at traffic in depth, since that was done in the preliminary plan phase. So on page 3, you're going to see 2 items that I completely scratched out, which had the engineering person looking over that stuff. However, I would like to make emphasize the importance of having the engineering consultant assess the need for off-site improvements that are related to traffic. So, they won't be redoing the traffic study per se, but they might determine that based on what has already been done, do we need to put in speed bumps, or, I'm just picking up top of my head, improvements to the road network that would increase safety and traffic flow, that sort of thing. So I think that's worthwhile for this person or the firm to look at.
Hey, while we're on that, just a typo on page 2.
Yep.
Under application status. Do you see where you wrote application status? Yes. What's that?
To the year.
Yeah, the year. You want to make sure 2023.
23,
Yeah,
yes.
just a small thing. You
Yes.
saw that too? Yeah.
Yep. I'll fix that.
The only other thing that I could think of, I had a couple things like question marks.
Yes.
Is that under number 3, general tasks, the consultant should evaluate the following. And letter B includes street lighting. And my understanding that that's still an open discussion. In other times I've been very firm about, yes, street lighting, but this is a special instance where it may be that there may be a solid case for not lighting or very limited lighting. Do we have to accommodate the potentiality in this RFP, since we don't know if there's going to be a street lighting?
I don't think so. I think we're going to communicate that to them. In fact, including street lighting means just a consideration of such.
Okay.
The recommendation of the engineer based on our wishes.
Fair enough.
Maybe not to have street lighting.
Yeah, I actually got a chance to think about that today a little bit. And if I can mind the same vein as Jonathan is, I think we're looking at a street impact up there that would be more appropriate in a cottage setting or a neighborhood setting, not necessarily a street impact similar to what we have in Pingree or in other subdivisions. We've been very successful in the last few years in minimizing the long-term maintenance costs of our roadways and maintaining the privacy of, proponents have worked with us. Building lots of road doesn't make a lot of sense. And I think part and parcel in that is street lighting and other street furniture, things that you find on streets, curbing and stuff like that. And I know Mr. Diskin and I have already spoken. I'm not going to tell you how Mr. Diskin feels about curbing, but in the interest of maintaining the habitat up there, we may even look at no curbing and some such creative curbing solutions. So I would ask if we can get an engineer who has got a little bit more than MADOT road experience. So there are a lot of communities in this area. There's one, I don't want to pick on a neighboring community, but you can drive out one of our major roads and you look to your right and there's 26 buildings in there. They look like they were designed by a person with great military experience. They're regimented and lined right up. I understand why they've done it that way. They don't have access to sewer treatment, so they needed to leave a large parcel of land available for septic. Had they been on sewage treatment, it'd be a very different layout. So I think I would ask the board to think about this and be open-minded and hopefully find an engineer who's not looking for 32-foot wide pavement with a 5-foot sidewalk on each side and
That's a good point.
and a street light every yard and a half and stuff, the typical DOT type stuff we do in our streets. And I think it would lessen the impact on the neighbors. If you put another street in there that's in the character of the streets leading into it, Oak Ridge Drive, Calvin, Sandy Pond, and Wright Road, almost by definition, people have to drive slower on those roads. There's no long straightaways, there's no wideness to it. So, I mean, they do drive quicker than we want sometimes, but I think, and honestly, Mr. Collins, I gave him a copy of that 2010 Association of Planners Neighborhood Streets Guidelines. So I think I would ask, it's not a deal breaker, but I'd like to have an engineer who's open-minded about streetscape. Because
And I also think the engineer should be someone who's the firm that's sensitive to not just the technical laws or regulations, but the spirit of the OSRD,
Yeah.
the spirit of right.
Yeah, and that's all. And I would ask, and we're going to have to hash this out with the board. We're going to have neighbors hopefully present at all the meetings, so there will be some sort of happy medium. But I wish I could say this, but we went for speed tables on a busy street in Belmont, and and neck downs and speed tables, and what we discovered was modern automobiles are made with such taut suspensions that neck downs and speed tables make them more fun to drive at the previous speeds on the road. The cars don't respond to them anymore. It's kind of a chicken and egg thing. So we should think about that.
I'm gonna comment about Jeff's.
Yep.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you,
Chair.
Jeff. Okay?
I'm going to comment about Jeff's comment.
Sure.
I think that we need to give ourselves more credit. We certainly understand what needs to be done up there, probably better than an engineer coming in. So
Yeah.
I don't think we have to spend a lot of time explaining to the engineer, other than the engineering itself. In other words, are the drawings showing the right elevations? Are the drawings showing the right depths? Are the drawings complying with DPW regulations, things along those lines, as a third party? But my expectation is that the time we spent on the preliminary subdivision and all the open hearings and meetings that we had,
Right.
that we pretty much got the drift of what we're gonna expect to do up there.
Yeah.
And that we're really looking for someone to just take a look at Dillis's calculations and the stormwater report, stuff like that. And, drill that down,
Yeah.
so we're not missing something. And you have to keep in mind something too that's important, is at the end of the day, and this is going along with what you said, at the end of the day, when we get the report, we have to be savvy enough to understand that maybe something in that report is not what we expect.
That's true.
Right.
We will be flexible in determining
That's right.
what's in the report,
Yeah.
so flexibility is a big thing here.
Agreed.
And if we do receive several replies, which would be nice, then, we could have a little subgroup
Same
meet
thing,
with them to,
That would be fine.
like this.
Do you have a sense of how many firms you're going to send out the RFP to?
I would like to send out to at least 3 to 5. And,
Yes, that's what I was
I
thinking.
know Dan knows some, I have some in mind as well. And I will ask Dan and perhaps other planners for some I haven't thought about. But if anybody has suggestions as to, especially smaller firms that we haven't thought about, I mean, there's, the VHBs of the world, but there are smaller firms that.
I know of a couple of communities in not neighboring but nearby towns, both Acton and Stowe, that have done this style. They're condominium communities, but they still need roads, they still need infrastructure. So I'm more than happy to
All right.
send the. I don't know who the engineering firms were for those,
Yeah.
but it's fairly easy to go on the records and find
Right.
out.
Yeah.
So I think the largest issue is the timing of the release of the RFP. I agree that it's wise for us to discuss this RFP and get it in shape now. That makes perfect sense. However, I wonder about, does it make any sense to send out an RFP before there's a definitive plan set that a firm can look
Well,
at?
for one reason especially, since
Okay.
Dan will not be able to assist me in determining completeness on the engineering issues, that's a big part to me. I would hate, especially on something of this importance, to say that we have all the information from the applicant when perhaps we don't. Because, this preliminary plan is easy to go through the checklist and make sure they get all the general things. But for something engineering specific, that's why I think I even wrote that in there to assist.
Where is that?
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah,
So I did
assist
see
with-
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr.
Reviewing
Chair.
the plan for
If I may.
completeness and a technical.
Yes, Jeff.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't. The answer to your, yes, I understand. I believe I understand when you say we should have a definitive plan in hand when this goes forward. I would ask you to think about it this way. This is a complex and large project. If we're going to go out to an engineer, if we're going to ask firms to consider this, I'd rather get a room on their dance card.
Oh, I see.
So
Yeah.
this is a complex project. It's not complex. It's a lot of work. Really, what it comes down to, all the calculations, all the placements of stuff. It's just a lot. It's a lot of time spent looking at this, and so I don't think we'd be making a mistake to alert firms that we've got a X number of acres, Y number of units,
And may
Z miles of road.
Right.
Yep, I have a follow-up for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
So what I'm a vendor myself as
Yeah.
a freelance. So what I'm wondering is, would they have sufficient information based on this in the preliminary to make an adequate quote on the review of the definitive? That's my question.
I think
No, they
so.
won't.
Well,
See, I have a no over here and a yes
I
and
think
a.
to a large
This
extent,
is good.
only
You put it away
because
till I get the plans.
Only because the preliminary plan in this case is, if you look at what they submitted, there actually is a lot of technical detail on there. Not everything we need, but I think there's sufficient technical detail in their set of preliminary plans to enable a firm to give us a quote. Yeah, they won't know everything, and they might have to amend it some during the definitive process, but I think we have enough information to get this out there as an RFP. That's my opinion.
And I guess the way I'm looking at it is, yeah, the amount of money is an important part of the conversation, but finding engineers who have time in their schedule to do the work.
Right.
That's a good-
Yeah, and that's
I
the
see what
problem
you're
too.
saying.
We've been working on this for over a year, guys.
Right. And if, I did not receive as many proposals for the traffic report as I would have wished compared to what I had sent out. So if that's true for engineering firms, that, a lot of them are booked solid, I'd rather know that now and get this out early, But, yeah, we'll have to accommodate adjustments in the future. But I think we've seen from the applicant that, they've been very accommodating with the time and, considerations like that.
Ken, any follow-up on that?
I'm gonna go with what everyone agrees on, but my feeling is that if we spend enough time, we can finish this tonight.
Mhm.
And then by the next meeting, we should be ready to say, that's it, it's complete. You'll have to amend the thing
Right.
after tonight.
Yes.
Then bring us the clean copy at the next meeting, then we'll vote it.
Right.
That would be the time that
Sure.
I'd be willing to compromise.
Okay,
I don't think there's any
13th.
prices. That's just the way I
Yeah.
stand on it.
I think that,
Yeah.
and then we readjust. If that happens, we adjust, right? I mean, if
No,
they-
there's no adjusting.
we just at the
They're
same-
gonna give you a price without seeing the definitive plans.
I
I'm not
don't.
Yeah.
No, what I mean is
excuse me.
adjust our process for the RFP.
I'm not arguing that we'll get a price or not. What I'm arguing is that
I agree
they
with
need
the process.
they need qualified engineers to work on this. They know what their bench is. We don't know the bench. If they're just going to say we don't have the horsepower to take care of this in the time frame, let's give them a chance.
No, I think it's
Let's
a-
get the best engineering we can find.
I think the process is good.
And I think the price is-
Get this done by the next meeting.
Yeah.
It's 100% done. You start sending it out, and then you'll find out who's interested in doing it
Right.
at all.
Exactly.
And you might not get any prices, but you'll find an interest.
Right.
Okay,
Yes.
all right,
And
all right.
instead of-
that's fine.
And the reason I'm hedging on the definitive plan is, I don't know if we're ever gonna get a definitive plan. Reality, could come about, and they could make a change and say, we got the preliminary approved, and we're gonna sit back to the spring. So we may not get a definitive plan. Until we have it, we don't know that we have it.
And follow that, the DPW may be staffed by then.
Well, that wasn't my thought process.
Yeah.
No,
But-
no,
but then-
but even
but
if
doesn't-
so,
that-
yeah,
does that
that person
move
will
to-
be new.
They're gonna,
They're that's an
we're
experienced
entitled to go
person.
for the third-party engineer,
Yeah.
DPW or
Yeah.
otherwise, so we're entitled to do that.
We are.
Yes.
Entitled
Oh,
to
yes.
it,
No, we are.
but
Oh, it's in there.
Required.
explicitly, Yeah.
Yeah.
We can require that.
Yeah, and I would feel more comfortable requiring a third party. We're very, very, very skilled in stormwater and some other things. There are things part of this that we're not going to have skill in the DPW
So-
that I would assume an engineering
Yeah,
firm would
one-
be able to pull. Different.
There's something on page 5, under attachments is a note, and it says, note colon, the definitive plan set will be made available to the chosen engineering firm as soon as such is submitted to the town of Ayer. though it will be largely identical to the October 2022 preliminary plan set. I would change will to may.
Okay, May, all right.
I would just-
Preliminary plan set?
just
How about-
strike-
How about the plan?
Just strike the, just at Town of Ayer, period.
Preliminary plan set? Didn't it say the definitive plan set?
It does say the definitive plan.
It's the one I'm reading says attachments. The preliminary plan set and other relevant information is found under the plans, okay. The plan set itself is at the bottom of the page.
But
So
this
you
is-
want,
Oh, but
what
the
I'm getting
next
at
note, yeah, we could collapse those.
I would,
is, what you're saying is you want them to look at the preliminary plan set. I thought you wanted to change that to definitive plans.
Look,
I guess I read it this way, excuse me. The definitive plan set will be made available to the chosen engineering firm as soon as they're submitted to the Town of Ayer. Put a period there. Yeah.
That's what I would say too.
Just drop the period in there.
Drop the rest of that, because we don't really, we
Okay.
can't know that.
Again,
Where are you again exactly?
Under
page
note-
5,
Under note,
Right,
and then drop right, I'm trying to figure, just above submission details.
Yes.
This is note.
yep.
And just drop everything after Town of Air.
Oh, okay.
I feel much better about that, because
All right,
we can't,
sure.
we don't
Yeah.
have a
Right.
crystal ball.
But when you highlighted
No.
mine's highlighted, the preliminary set. Was there a reason for you highlighting that?
That was just to make sure that the link worked. That was really a work for myself.
Oh, okay.
I was checking the links and checking things.
so the highlights
The
will
link
just,
does work.
You're
The link is-
encouraging them to look at the preliminary set as
Yes,
part of
yes.
their thought process.
Right.
Even though we've already voted on it. It's voted, it's
Oh, yeah.
approved.
Oh, I know. But I think that makes it especially even more relevant because it is approved. Usually applicants come in with a definitive that's very close or pretty close to the preliminary.
Well, I guess I'd add a language in here then, if it's, we're gonna leave it. I'd say the approved preliminary plan set.
All right, sure.
And
Oh,
other
yeah,
relevant,
yeah,
and
that's
other
good.
relevant documents instead of information, documents
Another-
can be found.
Yes, okay,
and
that's
if-
good.
and may I ask the other foot drop question? Are the approved preliminary plans set on the website?
Yes,
Thank you.
yeah, I put them on there this week with
Great,
Cindy's
thank you.
help.
Okay, so that way, at least if I'm if I'm a person looking at it, I'm gonna,
Yeah.
I won't have to ask you the question if that's approved.
Right,
I'll
yep,
know.
good catch.
Um,
So, I
I'd like
think,
to start at the beginning.
yeah, I would too, because I think we have the time for it. Let's go and get this in the best shape possible, and that makes it possible for us to give approval at the next meeting for Mark to send this out. So I've shared my comments, so this is really for the other board members to submit to Mark their comments, or to us and to Mark to review.
So, at the 30,000 foot level, my understanding is this is a person who works for the town. Fundamentally, this is going to be right. This will be a contractor to the town, and responsible. Who are they responsible to? Clearly to the DPW, to Dan.
Right, and to the planning.
Well,
board.
there was
No, they're responsible to us,
They're
because we're not gonna have,
responsible to
so the whole point is this going
Yeah.
to a third-party outside engineering firm, not to the
Right.
DPW at all, so they're gonna respond to
Though
us.
the person might need to check with
Of course
DPW
they
to see
will.
if things are, meets their, there
Well,
might be some arcane.
Right. Because
thing.
largely,
But they're working for the planning board.
okay.
They may need to consult with DPW
Right.
about things. Well, they will definitely need to.
I guess, why do you, what's the question?
Well, I'm wondering how this
I think
person takes direction.
It should be,
The
it'll
same
be
way
clear.
like the traffic study,
Yeah.
same kind of process.
Well,
Yeah.
I could add to that
Yeah.
a little bit. This is not an unfamiliar task to these people. They're doing it all the time. So they know typically what direction has to be taken to attack a set of plans and break it out and so forth. And they're gonna answer to us.
So previously, Dan did all this work for us.
For
Correct.
many,
In
many,
past subdivisions, he and Mark Wetzel did the engineering review.
Correct.
Plus, they were much smaller.
I get it.
Yeah.
I appreciate that there's a need here, but I'm concerned that this person, this firm, has multiple heads telling them what to do, and I want to be very clear. what their responsibilities are,
No,
who they.
They usually identify a team, that's specific to the project, so there'll be a key person that.
Not their team.
No, he's worried about us.
I'm not worried about their team.
Oh,
He wants to know
okay.
who
So,
that is.
I-
The planner acts as the liaison, right?
Yeah, may I cut to the
Yeah,
chase?
yeah, right to
The
it.
planning board is, they work at the behest and direction of the planning board,
That's right.
through the planner.
Through the planner.
If the planner chooses to, and it's okay with the chair can decide to convene a subcommittee that will help with this.
Sure.
Okay, I think that's probably not a bad idea, given the size of this project.
Yeah, it's-
At the end of the day, they only work with us. They will work with the applicant as needed to get questions answered and if the information's incomplete.
Right.
The applicant pays the bill.
That was my next question.
I know, that's why I was getting there.
All outside
The applicant
consultants
pays the
paid
bill.
by the applicant.
Yeah.
All of them paid
Direct-
by the applicant.
Yes,
Directly paid.
yeah. So what we're
Not
basically,
directly paid. They fund an account.
Yeah,
Yes.
they put money into an escrow account here,
Mhm.
called the 53G account, and then when the firm bills us for the work they've done, we pay out of it.
exactly. And the reason for it is, we're volunteers. Yes, we got elected, but we're volunteers. We can't be expected, some of us do, Mr. Diskin's case, have a great deal of experience with this type of stuff, but we also can't put it on his shoulders. So we want to get a fresh set of eyes who's who's up.
So in previous OSRDs,
Yeah.
we put this on Dan's shoulder. Dan was
They
our.
were, in many ways, they're much smaller, and I think there was
I
comfort there.
understand, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying that
Yes.
in the 3 or 4 OSRDs to date,
Yes.
we have leaned on Dan as
Yep.
volunteers here and
Mhm.
non-experts to give us his assessment,
Mhm.
his professional analysis,
Mhm.
and then we make a decision
Mhm.
largely on that. And that's the parallel here, is that we are going to lean on this firm
Mhm.
to say yes and no to these various aspects, and then we'll make a decision.
Yes, and if it's any comfort at all, I'm sure Mr. Van Skelquick isn't that far away at any time,
Of course.
and
Okay.
always available for consultation. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Dan Van Skelquick's one of the premier stormwater engineers in this part of the country, in this part of Massachusetts.
Yes.
And Mr. Wetzel and Mr. Van Skelquick did a phenomenal job for the town of Ayer over the years, and that was known to be.
Right. We just started
yeah.
out our conversation
Yeah.
saying that Dan doesn't have this person yet. Dan doesn't
Mhm.
have staff, which is not really the case. The case is the board needs. It's just helping me understand this
Mhm.
much better. The board needs the technical expertise so that we can make good decisions.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yes.
Make one more comment.
Please do.
For Jonathan's, excuse me, for Nathan's consideration. The way I look at it is, we have the opportunity to require an outside engineering firm to look at, the set of drawings and whatnot, and all the documents. But in the course of the same review, we undoubtedly will get the comments from the DPW anyway. So we'll get a list of comments.
Yes.
Mhm.
But we won't be asking them to do the in-depth analysis and say, look, this guy submitted a stormwater report that says it's gonna do so many gallons per minute, or whatever the thing might be.
Mhm.
And we wouldn't be asking them to look at that kind of
Right.
documentation.
Yeah.
But I expect, we get to it here anyway, that there'll be a list of comments no matter what.
Right.
And,
Now, the
and
fortunate part about it is that this is our 4th OSRD, I believe. We're already kind of familiar with some of their comments that come back and expectations, and I'm sure the engineer doing the drawings is gonna be at their office figuring out what to put on the plans in the first place. So there's gonna be a lot of work done on the drawings before they're submitted. So I think we're gonna be pretty close when we get the drawings, to be honest with you. So, that's all I got. I have other comments on this one. My turn comes.
I have one general comment. We've been very fortunate to have the expertise we had at the DPW over the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah,
Not every town has that.
no question.
Good. Thank you. So, Julie, you want to go first? What you got?
Are we just doing edits on the first page?
Yeah, let's
Sure.
start with the first page.
Or are we not there?
We're there.
No, no.
We're there in a
Making
minute.
sure I'm keeping up.
Yep.
Go.
Second paragraph, 2/3 of the way down on the right, any questioning, I don't know why any's capitalized, I mean that with kindness. Any questions
Oh,
by the
yes.
applicant, but
Yeah,
any should be
yeah.
lowercase.
Thank you.
You just want to have the applicant sitting in a chair with a bright light on him.
Yeah,
And then my last question is a two-parter. The bullets that go on to this next page kind of run like a paragraph with random places where there's commas and periods. But sometimes it's not a continuation of a sentence. Usually it's like listed, like the first one where you don't continue on. So I guess we should decide how that's
Alright,
going.
so-
But going off of that while I'm there, I thought we decided that we're taking out things like the last one on page 1, which is vehicular traffic, vehicular safety, where proposed streets. Is that still something we want
Except that's-
engineering as well as a traffic study?
well, this isn't the traffic
No.
study, this is looking at the intersection of Wright Road with the subdivision road specifically and
Yeah.
only for that, so.
That's an engineering question as well?
Yeah, I think that needs to stay in there, because that's not a traffic study, that's just like, does this work in terms of slow, sight distance, that sort of thing, as they're proposing to build it in the definitive plan. So that last bullet is engineering, not traffic study,
Okay.
yeah.
Is that
I got, who's next?
just?
So I don't know if we decided if they're list items or
Yeah,
we're
well,
doing
well,
paragraph
what do you
form here.
recommend?
But
I'm not the grammarian.
No,
The
no,
other
you-
thing I'll say about this document too is that some of the lines, I have to have somebody clean this up with the indentation
Yeah.
and the lines that
Yeah.
appear and the double lines.
That's always
you know,
fun.
It's a mess.
I like having the bullets because it's easier to
Okay.
read.
Mhm.
I'd recommend removing the periods and commas at
That's
the
what I
ends
would-
of each
yeah,
Alright,
page.
so
typically,
remove-
the standard with bullets is to remove and
Remove
punctuation,
punctuation.
yeah.
Any
Okay,
continuing
I'll do
and
that.
punctuation, exactly. And if I may ask, on the second page, under assessment of potential offsite
I'm gonna get
improvements,
there too. Yeah.
the third to last sentence, nexus with vehicular impacts, on the right-hand end of it, there's extra spacing in there.
Oh, nexus with vehicular, yeah.
I was gonna pull that whole thing right out.
Go for it.
Well, waiting my turn.
Well, let's finish up page 1. So we've gotten feedback from Julie on the first page. Anyone else have feedback related to the first page?
Yes.
Ken does. Nathan, do you?
Yes.
So, Ken, do you mind, Nathan?
So the last bullet, where the proposed street meets the public way at Wright Road. Again, my angle is I'm trying to find the scope, right? Because here's my concern. We're going to get questions through all this about what about this thing that's a football field away from the development? What about this and that? And I want to be sure that we this development is
Right.
what we're talking about. If we want to, for example, reevaluate, and this will get into the next page. Sorry, right, the straightness of Wright Road and the striping of Wright Road, those are town improvements, unrelated. In my mind, that's an improvement that the town may want. Residents may want those, but not related to the development. So I just want to put a bound around like where Stratton Hill meets Wright Road, plus or minus 500 feet or whatever, right? This is the bounds of our of where we're going to ask this firm to look. Sorry.
I got you.
Do you want to take that one, Ken?
Yeah. My expectation is going to be that, I'd leave this in, I'd write it a little differently than what he's kind of set a recommendation, I might change a couple of different words there, but my expectation is going to be, just look at the plans for SO2 that I've looked at hundreds of times, okay? That actually had, at the entrance where it meets the road, a diagram showing the radiuses that are required to be made by fire trucks and
Yep.
by automobiles and
Yep.
things like that. I have the same expectation here.
I do too.
That they will show us that in the drawings that are submitted.
Right.
So we're basically gonna just ask this gentleman, in my opinion, to just review. I don't think he needs recommendations, I think he should say review vehicle safety at the point of such and such like that, because he's basically gonna be reviewing what is on the drawings, we hope. If they show us a set of drawings that don't have that data on there, they got a bad set of drawings. Every other set of drawings we've seen, engineers are showing us those turning radiuses for safety. So I don't want them to be in a position where they're making recommendations to us. I agree with you on that. I think we should be asking them to review things and, you know, instead of making a recommendation, recommendation should be coming from the set of drawings we get from the applicant, you know. But I think what I'd like to say further about that is we have within our jurisdiction the ability to get off-site improvements completed by the applicant beyond the entrance.
Yeah.
We have to get back to the original approval,
Mhm.
which Mr. Archibald has a copy of, which has some off-site improvements in it, and review those on our own as well,
Yep.
to find out what was included. I think there might have been $50,000 or something off the top of my head to do maybe paving on Wright Road or something like that. And be careful, I agree with what Nathan says, we need to be careful about how far we can take this
Right.
whole process.
But I would also be careful about precluding all consideration of offsite improvements.
Right.
No, no,
I'm
we're
not
not gonna-
there,
we're
no, I'm
not
not
gonna
there, I'm just saying that
preclude.
that's the next bullet, and we'll get to
Yes,
that one.
sure.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
I think that's very helpful, that it's, the scope of the first 5 bullets is what's in the definitive drawing package.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Okay, so
You good, Nathan?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to go back to the very first
Sure.
paragraph, the last sentence in the first paragraph, where it says, "The consultant selected shall possess strong qualifications," well, I hope so,
Yeah.
"in all customary aspects of site civil engineering," and then I would scratch out the last part, "as well
Yeah.
as expertise in traffic and
I
transportation."
did, I just did that.
Okay, and then, but I would add in there, where it says, "all customary aspects of site civil engineering for residential subdivisions."
Oh, okay.
Put that language in, because that's what specifically we're
yes.
asking about, is
That's
residential
right.
subdivisions.
Site civil engineering for
Because you can have all
residential
kinds of
subdivisions.
experience with all kinds of other things. But
Right.
we're looking for somebody who specializes in subdivisions.
Yes, good point.
Manufacturing.
Exactly.
Right.
Then, the only other thing I have on the first page is where the bullets are.
Yep.
I don't understand, the 4th item down, the layout of house lots and related aspects. No idea what that means.
Yeah, I was wondering
Absolutely
that
no
too.
idea what that means. I don't think we need, we know where the house
Yeah,
lots are.
yeah.
right?
Let's scratch that.
You're right, we'll scratch that.
Because that's what the preliminary
What's a
plan
related
is.
aspect?
That may have come from the very first preliminary that they submitted to us where they had these long, long driveways. Yeah, I did write it. Well, so yeah, we can
Assessment
scratch
of
that
the need
one
for
without
blasting
losing
of
it.
rocky road
And thank you, because that's, I'm trying to help make this more crisp.
We want it
Sure, oh yeah,
Yes.
shorter and crisper.
yeah.
And then the last one, which we talked about, which says recommendations involving, I just say review vehicle safety.
Right,
I just say review
Yep.
vehicle
I
safety.
get that.
Is everyone okay with that?
Yes.
Yep.
I mean, I'm just going on my own here.
And Ken, while you have the floor, why don't you take us into page 2 as well?
Okay, so page 2, the very first bullet, you know, it talks about, again, assessment of off-site improvements to Red Road and nearby network that would improve traffic flow and safety, blah, blah, blah. That should, to me, that would be the end, that period right there. The rest, the consultant shall begin examining the traffic analysis. I don't think we want that. I think that's what we took out before in another spot. Shall begin by examining. I want to cut the whole thing out after the first sentence.
All right,
Yeah, I agree.
sure.
It's,
All right.
and we're limiting it to, limiting it to automobiles, bicycles, and pedestrians, all users, but I can live with the way it's written now.
All right, so pedestrian, so one sentence.
Just the
Yeah,
first
both
sentence.
automobiles,
First sentence.
bicycles, and
Right,
pedestrians.
yeah.
Yep.
So on that, we're staying on that one? On that bullet, this is a case in point where the firm is not going to be able to make a quote because of the word potential, right? They have no idea what these offsite improvements are. So when we get to these offsite improvements, is the board going to decide a list of offsite improvements that are candidates to go with this project?
Well, we'll be discussing it, and I'm sure that the neighbors will be.
We'll take all
wanting to
that in,
discuss it
and
too.
we'll
Yeah,
have a-
we'll take it all in, and the
But
board will
the board will decide, will the
Yes.
board decide a list? And in
Yeah.
that list, this firm evaluates that sentence?
Right.
I saw it differently from you, Nathan.
Yeah, I see it
through the
differently
chair.
Okay.
So the way I saw it was, I was good with this. Give me a long list. Then the board will decide within that list what's appropriate and what's not. So it's not, there's no, I feel through the chair, there's no problem with getting a list from them. Because
From-
ultimately, we're gonna make a decision what we're gonna incorporate into the approval on that list.
From who?
The
list-
third-party consultant.
A list from the, we're gonna get a list from the consultant. The same list is gonna be shared with the applicant, so they're gonna dispute the list. And then finally, we'll decide what is on that list that we say we have to have it done to get the approval. That's the way I look at
So
it.
is this, so should we take the word recommendations that we ripped out of the previous bullet and stick it in over here?
I just said, I think it's fine. Because I would say, do an assessment and make
Yeah, yeah.
recommendations.
Right.
But,
Do an
but the way
assessment.
it reads, and sorry to.
Yeah, just as
interrupt you,
assessment, yeah.
Is what Nathan's saying, which is it's an assessment of, rather than suggestions of, or
Yeah.
assess the situation and suggest.
Assess and suggest potential offsite
Yeah, here you go.
improvements.
Assess
Okay.
and.
Would that
So
mean-
what we're saying.
Recommend.
Yeah.
Gotta be
Sorry,
two
sorry
words.
for being so formal, but the, what we're recommending is that the list starts with the firm.
They're creating it. in-
They start with a list. They create, their first charge, one of their first charges is to create a list of potential offsite
Creating
improvements.
You're talking about the applicant?
No,
the
We're
engineer.
talking about this
Engineering.
guy, the guy that
Engineering
works for us.
firms.
Yeah, that's what I would like to see.
that's how it
Yeah,
starts.
but that necessarily, they're not gonna come to the first meeting with a list of recommended.
No,
offsite
no, no,
improvements.
but we're not going to have the open meeting, the residents aren't going to start. with
We'll have a
the-
scoping meeting, just
Yeah.
like we had with the traffic study. And
That's
it
what I
will be
think.
an open meeting of the board, and whether the board, wants to involve other people is up to the board.
So,
But,
so then it starts with this committee, scoping meeting committee.
Gonna
no, the
start-
scope-
Excuse
we
me.
are the
I'm
scoping.
gonna ask, I
The
guess,
planning board is the scoping committee.
what's your concern?
My concern is, what is the process for getting these improvements? Again, I'm trying to put bounds around the
So this
analysis
is
of
interesting. I would
improvements.
argue that I don't want bounds on this. I want an engineer who has experience in the world, in the marketplace today, to come to me with, oh, I know about this, or they can think about that, or I can think about this, so then I can consider them.
Okay, but I want that to be clear, that.
Assess and recommend potential offsite improvements,
No.
I think is very clear. It's wide open.
Okay, but it's,
Does that make, I mean.
yeah, it's clear that then
Yeah.
this firm creates the initial list
Creates a list,
of
creates
all the
a list.
of the potential offsite
And
recommendations.
it will not be a complete list. In my mind, it will never be a
We'll
complete
get.
list.
I
Yeah.
agree. I agree with you.
I think
Okay.
the thing that's important here, Nathan, excuse me,
Yeah.
through the chair. This is a spot where having the word Wright Road is very important to me. Doesn't go beyond Wright Road.
Interesting.
So.
Well, it does mention True Right
Nearby
Road
road
and
network.
Nearby Road Network, which we could scratch if you want.
I'd like, she doesn't want to scratch that. You want to keep it all the way to the beach and beyond, or? They
Well, we
can't,
did
we
talk
I
can't,
about-
understand that. Can I say what I'm thinking?
Yes.
Is this the time to do that?
Yes,
Am
it
I cutting
is.
you
Yes.
off?
No, no.
Okay.
let's do it right now.
The only place, sorry, neighbor. The only place I would say that might be worth considering is because you have quite an important network to the bridge. That bridge is a very, and I get that this project isn't here to fix all our town's woes, but at the same time, if we look at something like Beth Sudemeyer suggested, which was a road that made the pedestrian have the right of way, that flow makes a lot of sense in the most narrow point of the next road, which is Snake Hill Road, where at the bridge. And that would be a safety thing for people using the beach. It would be a continued use of that space. And so if we are considering things like Beth had suggested at some point, I don't know that we are, but I guess I just want to say that that visual idea of pedestrian has the right of way, flowing that from the beach through Wright Road would be a consistent thing that would allow safety at all those points. I understand we have to limit it at some point. I'm not suggesting it for any other reason, but that bridge could become an important, at least, conversation here.
We're
Anything
talking,
to- to Jeff?
excuse me, you're talking about what we refer to as the causeway.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if this is an amplification of what Ms. Murray is saying or something totally out of left field, but if you think about the vehicular traffic in that area, there's an opportunity at the causeway to make it one way and use the other roads to get out. Being open-minded, not knowing what the answer is, but Calvin to Oak Ridge gives you an opportunity to leave that area and leave the causeway as one way coming in. Most, being people who use the causeway multiple times a day, that is a pinch point. Now, I'm also from the world where you stop and you wait for the other person to come off. You never back out, it doesn't have to. Or you slow down and there's always people there. So in many ways, the causeway self-polices, but I'm open to all kinds of solutions, and that actually puts a lot more traffic on my property
Right.
over time. But if it's going to be the solution, so I would like them to consider to reiterate what Julie's saying. I would like them to consider the causeway, and I would even say the beach side of the causeway is kind of the end point. And that includes the intersection of.
We could have.
That's the intersection.
Pretty big.
Well,
But
if you
don't
think-
feel comfortable with that.
Well-
That's a little, that's a lot.
I have a suggestion to solve it.
Yeah.
And pardon me for jumping ahead to the town planner report thing.
Oh,
Insert in the town planner report a meeting between the planning board and the Department of Public Works to resolve the issues that are coming up on Wright Road that are beyond our control. And that's the meeting we should have. And find out what we can and cannot legislate on Wright Road.
Yeah.
If we're gonna reach that point, we're
Yeah.
gonna keep getting questions and we're gonna have concerns like from neighbors.
Well, I understand.
People getting to the beach, about stuff you said,
Yeah.
but we can't solve it.
No,
We can't ask this guy to solve it.
Yeah.
I'm bringing up things that
We
I've
should
thought
have that
about.
meeting, don't you think? We should find out once and
Yeah.
for all.
Yeah.
Because the thing just hangs there.
No, I agree with
We
you.
never know what the real answer is.
I'm not going to disagree with you, and this is not a hill I'm going to die on.
Let
But
them
I have to
engineer.
remain open-minded. Honestly, I have to, because it's not a huge change to that neighborhood in any way, shape, or form. But Wright Road exists as it exists now, and I think it's an unsatisfactory road currently.
I don't disagree with what anyone is saying.
Yeah.
I'm saying the way we resolve it, I believe, is to go beyond
I got
this
it.
board
Yep.
and say, okay, we've heard so much about this discussion, now it's time for the town to step up.
Do I get to
Put
move
aside-
that the
set
chair and
aside
vice chair meet with the
15,000,
DPW?
20, whatever.
Next.
I don't think we need a formal motion for that.
But yeah.
But I do think, I'm going to show my hand here. I think that the issues with the causeway and Wright Road are much bigger than Stratton Hill. And I think that with this RFP, I think that going to the causeway into the beach is too far. I think that's loading up the project, the things that don't belong with it. That's really a town issue that we got to resolve with DPW and talk about what the hell we're going to do with the Wright Road and the causeway. That's my 2 cents.
Again,
I'd
Mr.
like the
Chair.
idea of the meeting to discuss that.
We gotta resolve it,
Yeah,
one way
yeah.
or the other.
And I think the intersection of Red Road
Because we
Red Road
have
and Snake
answers.
Hill is the appropriate place to talk.
No
Excuse
kidding.
me?
I think in the first meeting, a discussion of Wright Road to Snake Hill Road
Exactly.
is the appropriate length of this.
I agree.
I think the larger issue of Calvin, Snake Hill, the causeway is a secondary conversation. That's
Agreed.
unrelated to Stratton Hill. That's
Agreed.
just pressure on that neighborhood
That's
that
right.
exists.
So
So
do
are
we
you
put
agreeing
that?
that we could delete the second half and just say, and get rid of in nearby road networks that would improve traffic and just go,
To Snake Hill
I want to say
intersection?
to Wright Road at Snake Hill intersection.
Well,
Okay.
Wright Road's just Wright Road. That's
Yeah.
redundant.
Wright Road.
yeah.
Wright Road.
Nearby road network. So I'll leave it up to Mark to, well, you guys do.
Did
Yeah,
you
so
want to
if-
just scratch out nearby road network or say assess and recommend potential off-site roads to Wright Road that would improve traffic flow and safety, or just you want to
Yes.
just
Yeah.
okay, good.
Yeah, I would just strike out and nearby road network on the first line. Yeah, absolutely, Mr.
I agree
Mr.
with
Chair.
that.
Thank
Say
you.
limited to Wright Road?
I think
No.
it says Wright Road, that's pretty much it.
I get it, but we just had
No, we
a
did
good
it.
discussion.
Yeah.
Just said Wright Road.
And it would.
No
it would-
engineering firm is going to spend extra time and money going beyond the scope of the document.
Yep.
Okay.
That's
Yep.
Thank
They
you.
won't
I
do
think
that.
that's fair. The conversation might continue, but absolutely.
I think we have to
And-
have the conversation before we meet with the public again. I think we have to have a separate meeting with DPW on this.
And I think there are 7
Because
intersections.
we all know what everyone expects now. We've
Yeah.
heard it all. There's nothing,
Yeah.
is there anything else that we're gonna hear about Wright Road? We've heard about intersections, we've heard about snow plows on private ways, we've heard about slipping on the street on ice with blind spots, we've heard about ledge,
Yeah.
the narrowness of the road. So I think we're prepared to meet with DPW and find out
Yeah.
what, if anything,
No, that's
can we
very
get out
helpful.
of
That
this.
is.
Good. Anything else on page 2?
That second paragraph, is that really just another bullet of scope?
Yeah.
What the consultant's efforts may include?
No, second paragraph.
It looks like a formatting issue, exactly.
Well,
Yeah,
no, I'm not, that's not that one. That
Well,
one's
it
just
needs
kind of
the
general
word.
language. It is further requested that, like this should be, I just think,
Yeah, I
it's
understand
a
what you're saying.
scope.
Oh,
that
that-
Meetings with the town planner is
That
a
could be a
scope.
bullet point that goes above.
Yes, please.
Yeah, you're right.
It just should say the consulting engineer,
Yep.
basically, right? Instead of further requested, just
Yep.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, why the consulting engineer? We didn't say that for anything else.
Yeah. that's what-
Assist the town planner
Yeah,
and planning board with.
It's just the town planner.
yeah, and I'll move to that.
Only for the sake of having this conversation am I going to say this, but the sentence above that, which says provision of written, graphic, or digital materials, can we just say materials? Because written can be digital, and graphic could be digital, or we like it.
That's a standard thing I got from somebody else's.
1980.
Yeah, that's why those other things they need a lot of help, those other models.
Yeah.
You're looking at the brains
It's
crust right
2022.
here.
All right, yeah.
We're going to write in the digital print. I mean, you did
The
on this.
consultant's efforts may include, the consultant's work.
You know,
will,
yeah,
the project will include. Or could
I mean,
include.
doesn't it just
I'm
come
wondering
with
if
the
we even
territory?
need
Let's
that.
strike that. That's just
I
all.
think
Just strike it.
Strike it out.
They
Yeah.
better to have some deliverables, or why do we pay
Yeah,
them?
let's strike it, I mean.
We didn't pay
check it
them.
out.
Why did we assist in them getting paid?
Anything else on page 2?
All right, let's go to page 3.
I don't think there's enough dots in the dotted line.
No,
So,
don't worry, I'm gonna
So
get rid
all I'm
of it.
gonna say on page 2, because I haven't done it, is you've verified these distances that you've listed here.
Yeah, well, I got the length from Stan Dillis,
Okay, good.
you know,
That's
he
all.
showed me where it was on the plan.
All right, thank you.
Sorry, Mark,
Yeah,
but
station 2100 or station 4800.
Yeah.
They call it stations.
Yeah,
Okay.
at the bottom of page 2, the period has a space before it.
all right.
Sorry.
No.
That's
That's why
the
we're
spaced
doing
out
It's good to
period.
be a grammarian. In fact, what I would request
No one else
is-
is apologizing.
Yeah,
I'm doing the
markup.
female apologizing thing. There you go. Move the period,
Actually,
please.
the
Okay.
best thing is which engineering
Track
firm
changes.
sends us the same. They send us the same formatted document every time they do a proposal, and it's got the same things wrong with it.
Yeah.
It's just like us having, in our
I know. And
Hey.
I need somebody
site
to.
plan conditions, it still
Built
refers to
built by
projects
committee
that
is
are-
not always the best thing.
I need to.
Okay, page 3.
That's what
Yep,
we're doing
we're
here.
on it.
I know. I have a healthy sense of humor about myself.
Well, item G, first of all, is just a reiteration of what was before. So the whole thing about in nearby road
You
network.
took it out already.
Yeah.
Yeah, for G.
Oh, yeah, so that just goes, right?
Yeah, that just goes.
So we don't need that.
I have a,
Again, for 3 general.
I'm going to ask.
tasks,
I'm
That's
sorry.
what Dan helped me with the most.
Okay.
He did his
So-
first. I'll have him especially pay close attention to that.
I think I have a word choice, if you don't mind. Back up
Sure.
near the top, number 2A. Go to find the parenthesis.
Mm-hmm.
The second set of parentheses. Note: in
Yeah.
consultant selection, firms whose proposal designates only one qualified person to execute the contract shall not consider to be less qualified than firms who designate. So everyone is not, but possibly could be qualified.
Yeah.
Thanks. I'm not throwing you under the bus, Mark. I just think that
No, I know. That's,
you had 2 really good thoughts there.
Yep.
So if it's a one-man show, we're not gonna throw him out if he's qualified to do the work. That's
Right.
kind of what I'm asking, right?
Yep.
I don't have any problem with all this language, it's just general language.
I know.
I think the firms
Yeah.
will understand what they have to do.
Right.
Page 4. The only comment I had on page 4 was under number 4, letter F.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
But
We've gone around and around on G. We have 2 Gs under 3, and
Two
the
Gs.
second G under 3, the one that's not
You scratched it.
scratched out,
Yep.
is the same conversation we just had on the top.
Yeah,
page.
we
that's
already
what we just
scratched
discussed.
Okay, thank you.
We just
Thank
did.
that.
Just
That's the
making
G.
sure.
We just did.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I was
We
getting
just did
lost
that.
in the language
Yeah.
above.
No.
So, page 4, under number 4,
Tough
letter
crowd.
F, it says provide E1 pumping system design calculations. We don't know what the sewer is going to be yet.
As appropriate.
Well, we may not have any E1s, period,
Exactly. Provide. The term of art is force main.
if required.
Should there be a force main, we need the calculations done. Okay, Mark?
Yes.
I would say if applicable.
Yeah, if
If
applicable.
applicable.
If applicable.
In front of, okay.
Yeah. E1's a trademark like
Right.
Coca-Cola is.
Yes.
Yeah. Force main is the general.
Is force main hyphenated or just force, word force and word main?
You can't hear? I always thought it was 2 words.
2 words?
Yeah, that's what it is.
I'm not an engineer, but
I have a quick one here. I had called Mark about this earlier,
Yeah.
but in item number 5, item D in 5 says detail specific design criteria that is accordance with Ayer DPW specifications. I thought we needed that in 4 as well.
Yeah, and
Add it
what I
to
said
four.
with, after I taught you the master of this that I have on the computer,
Changed
I
it.
made that change.
Okay.
All right, so this.
So both the wastewater and the water had the same
Yep.
Right,
comment, you
yep.
know, that's all.
and just the sentence after that, where judged to be necessary. The consultant shall offer specific recommendation to the board for modification of the plans in any of the preceding review items. Period. 4 period. I think that's just vestigial 4.
Oh, right,
Mhm.
yeah.
What's coming down to deliverables?
I think it goes under deliverables. Yeah.
So the 4 goes out, is that what?
Yeah,
Goes
no,
down to
4 goes
deliverables.
under,
It's just
Under
formatting.
deliverables.
it's a
Got it,
new,
yeah.
yeah. I'm gonna have it cleaned up and made consistent
Oh,
on the
yeah.
formatting.
Anything else on page 4?
I just have a quick question. When we're talking all this piece about the sewer connection and future connection, does that language include the discussions we've had about the people on Wright Road that are on septic that may tie
Yeah,
into?
Yes, it does.
It
No,
does.
no, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
Does not answer the question you
Well,
just asked.
determine existing and future wastewater flows capacity.
I just remember. That's why I called you this morning.
Julie's question if
And
you
that's
allow
why-
me to.
Please.
And that's why I called you, Mr. Diskin. This is what I wanted to talk to you about. I figured out how to figure it out.
There is a concern by Mr. Slavsky and other members of the Board of Health, and correct me if I'm wrong,
Yes.
that existing customers that exist that are on the water service, but are not on a sewer service in the neighborhood, may not have enough capacity to accommodate those future required connections when their systems fail. Again, beyond the scope
Whereas
of
new
this
owners
committee.
come
It is.
in.
But, again, the second subject that we should be talking about with the DPW,
Mhm.
how do we answer that question?
It,
And it should be answered immediately right now, because they have the answer already.
Yeah.
They already know that the 16-inch or the 12-inch or whatever main they have there will accommodate X amount of flow, but we still don't have the written answer in front of this board. We need it.
and
No.
it,
And the Board of Health
Have
can
another
request it,
question.
just like I did.
Mhm.
Yes.
And they told me they would provide it to me, but have not.
Okay.
and
So I wanted to know how many are left.
To answer-
When he said there were many, is he talking about 5 or is he talking about 50?
and I figured out how to answer that question. It's not currently available in the property record card information online. However, I will be contacting our new assessing administrator to find out, because it is a matter of public record. Every building has water or sewer, water or septic. So it's just not currently displayed in our current system through the property card information system. And that's the reason I called you.
You knew that
most
it used to
recently.
be, right? I did exactly what you said.
Yeah, It's just not. It's
Before
just
they changed the software,
in the new.
it used to tell you
yes,
right on the
it
software.
is no longer
And
being
now
displayed.
it doesn't tell you anymore.
Exactly.
So I asked that question to Mr. Hogan before he retired. Why did you remove that reference to city water and
we
city
may never
sewer?
have the answer to that question. That question,
Unbelievable.
but I'm
Because
pretty.
you used to find it right there.
But I'm pretty sure we can
But it's
get the
there on the
answer.
card. Okay.
It's there on the card. Number one, and number two. Before Mr. Wetzel, our past superintendent, retired from the town, this is something that he came to the board about, and that is, why don't we have a regulation or a bylaw that requires people to connect to our sewer treatment plant?
Board of Health.
So, for whatever reason, it never got pushed through before. I think there may actually be, this may be an opportunity.
ARPA funds.
There's funding for it. There's a lot of I think good technical reasons to do it. It's just it's hard to tell a resident to do something. So I would be more than interested in being involved in that conversation.
Can I ask a question as a resident of this street?
This is good. Can we, yeah, go ahead.
Real quick, I really just because I'm curious. So I understand why this is important discussion for sewer and septic, but as a resident who is on town sewer but has a well, do you want to have the same why are we not having the same conversation for well versus town water?
I would love to hazard an answer to that. I see a well that is in place, functioning, and viable as not being a hazard to a sewer system, where I see a sewer system that is not in place, functioning, and viable would be hazard to a water system.
Right.
In other words, you
Okay.
want
Public
clean
health.
water no matter what.
Right. Okay, got it.
Sewer
And
system.
that's why we
but thank you.
do sewer treatment plants.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you for that time.
So to be clear, assessing the capacity for all future connections on Wright Road of the sewer system is out of scope for this
Yes.
firm. That is in scope for a meeting between APB and DPW.
I think so.
And ultimately the Board of Health.
I would think so, and I added that too. If we're gonna have a discussion about the disposition of Wright Road and the Causeway, we might as well also include a discussion about the sewer capacity and get that resolved.
Yeah.
I think it's critical that this board be prepared for those questions which are gonna come up over and over again, and we have those solid answers. And we don't sit here saying, we gotta check with DPW. Let's get it done now.
Actually, I won't speak to the data right now, but I was fortunate enough when Mr. Wetzel was still here to be invited to go on tours of both our wastewater treatment plant and also our PFAS and pumping stations. And quite honestly, it's a fascinating thing to do, guys.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we could get a couple of hours on an afternoon or a morning where they could show it to us. It's actually the system we have in place is really, really good.
Excellent.
So then,
Any more on 4?
on that topic, on 4C, the top 4C, determine the existing and future wastewater flows. This wastewater being sewer, right?
Right.
In the Wright Road area, and the capacity of the collection system and right way pumping system to meet the future. I mean, that makes me nervous. The future anticipated flows.
Okay.
Do we need to narrow that in?
Jump in for a second.
Okay, go ahead.
I think the reason this is confusing is, and I talked to Mark about this on the phone today, what we're asking them to do here is to review the applicant's work that consists of this list.
Yes.
Yeah,
You understand
I
that?
understand that.
Okay, so, because when I first read it, I was thinking we were asking our engineer to do this. We're only asking him to review the work that was done by
Well-
the applicant.
Okay, there's two questions there, and thank you. That was one of mine. Was determine the existing flows. Determining the existing flows is going to be the applicant's responsibility.
Correct,
Confirming that analysis
right.
is going to be our firm, our engineering firm, but it doesn't answer future anticipated flows of the subdivision.
Yeah, it does. That's the future flow, that's the subdivision. The future anticipated flows are the subdivision and other things.
Right, subdivision as well as anyone else who may need to connect.
No. No, this firm and Dillis and Roy are not going to analyze our sewer capacity for the rest of Wright Road.
Well, they're gonna have to,
Okay, that's,
yeah.
okay.
And
They
we're gonna
can
get
push
it-
back.
We're gonna get it done before that anyway,
Okay.
because we're gonna do it as a board with the DPW. But we're gonna ask them, well, that's my opinion, that's only my opinion.
I'm happy to be in that conversation if you want.
And let me clarify why I believe that so strongly, okay? I don't want any whisper of a thought that this cannot be handled by the capacity of the area out there. If there's any whisper that people say it won't work, it's not gonna be acceptable. We need to know flat out
Mhm.
with no concern.
Again, that is the responsibility of the DPW.
DPW and the applicant, working together.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a hypothesis, and I shouldn't hypothesize in a public meeting, but should they determine that the flow from the Stratton Hill subdivision would be more than what's available on Wright Road, no reason why they can't have the applicant upsize Wright Road to take the capacity.
What a great off-site improvement.
Exactly. So we're all in the same boat.
Okay. Anything else?
Yes,
yes.
under deliverables, it says as to, at the end, both the preliminary and definitive plan, we're just on the definitive
Oh,
plan.
right, yep, thank you. Thank you. At the definitive plan stage, good catch.
Well, actually, you can end the sentence
Right.
at plan modification period.
Mm.
Yep, okay, yep. Yep, we'll do that.
May I ask on number 6? Estimated fees with upset limit.
What's that mean?
Yeah, I was wondering what that
It's
meant
a
too.
Oh.
I have a feeling upper
Guaranteed
limit was
maximum price.
intended.
That's like, yeah, that's a trigger.
CMP,
I wasn't sure if that was like mad money,
guaranteed maximum price.
right?
Yes.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So Julie, they got it. Yeah.
I think the people,
No,
they
it's-
understand this stuff.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll mark this up and send it to people, and I'm sure that I may have missed one or two things, but send me back
Oh, yeah.
if I got something wrong from our conversation.
What about pages 5 and 6? Anything there?
5 and, well, the appendix, I think, let's leave that. I'm just gonna,
Yeah.
that whole X's thing, I gotta fix that at the bottom there. Yeah, that's really, I'll work on,
Thank you.
the top where to send it and all that stuff. I'll make it consistent.
So,
Of course, I'll have to adjust the date for the proposals.
Yeah.
All right, excellent.
one then high-level question.
Please.
This is somebody we're leaning on. It's sticky, but how do they? What are they? Do they hold any liability?
Oh, yeah, all these firms hold insurance.
They have an insurance about that says that their analysis
Yes, in
was
fact,
accurate.
that's like 3 pages in the back of their proposals all the time, and the appendix we get from them is
Yeah.
like all their liability stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're going to
Yeah.
carry some insurance that the analysis, if there are errors in the analysis.
I don't think they can work with the town about it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
They first of all have licenses that they have to,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
whether or not they're,
Sure.
there's always the
Yeah,
chance.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
catching all these things.
Gee, Mark, that was fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. Work with them.
All right.
Oh, no.
And we have, Mark, would you like to lead us on the discussion?
Right.
Your memo about future, items to consider for 2023.
I know other people have probably ideas that you've all been thinking of,
Oh,
but
yes.
I wanted to at least look, some of these are things that we have to do, like certainly number 1 on projects already in progress. The MBTA communities, in fact, I spoke with 2 of the planners at the Montezuma Regional Planning Commission today, and what they need to do is the Department of Housing and Community Development has developed this, they call it a compliance model. It's like a spreadsheet thing. And they plug in all the factors, like, all the lot characteristics that they're looking at for the area within the half-mile radius for us. And coming out at the other end of this program will be, are we in compliance or not, basically. And so they need to do this model run for Ayer, which they plan to do in early December. And after that, we'll see what the gap is in terms of density and what we need to do.
It's a model run. I don't even.
It's a model run, you know, it's like a computer model. They have a computer model all set up.
Yeah, but I'm
with all
totally
these
confused.
factors.
I thought we resolved this, that we already had the zoning in place to meet the requirements that they were.
Well, not exactly. It never was totally resolved. No.
It wasn't?
No, no.
So
We-
what's
we
the unresolved
believe-
issue?
Huh?
What's
Well,
unresolved?
They have to do this complaint, they have to do a mathematical model to see how far how we fall in terms of density within the district.
You understand the concept here, right? I mean, they're basically gonna, but you have to, when they submit the data to the model, who submits the data to them for the model? An
The
application
Regional
regarding-
Planning Commission itself, but yeah, they have everything, like, for each parcel, they have the lot size, the impervious area, so they have the buildable area. They have to determine units per acre, which is the key thing.
So you're gonna take the train station and put an arrowhead through it,
Yes.
say this, then we're gonna loop this.
There's a half-mile radius of jurisdictional
Around it.
area. We believe that we're most likely, if not, we're probably largely in compliance due to the form-based code, but that because that's new, we have to see how the model treats that. So, you know, if we do have to tweak our zoning, I suspect that it may be in the general residence district to increase the allowable density from 12 to 15 units per acre, perhaps.
All right.
Is
So-
somebody, who's reviewing the
Yeah,
MRPC's
exactly.
document method? Their,
Well, the model was
algorithm.
actually developed by the state. The state developed this compliance model.
You
So
better
I
make
hope
sure
they
they
know,
get-
I hope they know what they're doing.
You better make sure they
Yeah.
have form-based code in there.
I'm just-
They may not even have form-based code in there.
Well, yeah, I know. Well, there's a
So
lot
it's gonna
to,
be
I
good.
will be, well, they're
I think-
gonna
I
run
think
this model,
we're
you
gonna
know,
make-
I'm not a mathematician, so they're
I'm not
gonna run this
worried.
model.
Yeah, I'm not worried
And then I
either.
will meet with
I'm not worried
them,
about that.
and we'll see how we fare. And, you know, the next step is for, by the end of January, we have to develop a, sort of a plan of action for them. If we fall short, we can say, well, you know, we're working on these zoning amendments to address that.
All right.
Though, you know, what they tell me is that of all the towns they're working with, at least the Montechusett Commission, that we're one of the best towns in terms of likely being in compliance or not having to do much.
The only thing
to do
I'm
so.
worried
Chris, if
about
we're
is-
not, I don't know who could be.
Yeah, right.
Honest to God.
Right.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I
We're gonna
agree.
end up being in that.
The only
Yeah.
thing I'm worried about is protecting Mark's time, right? I for one don't want to have to, you know, you sink a lot of time in this and it affects other.
Well, I'm
other
glad
things
that,
we're
you know, most of the work is developing this model, because before I knew that this model was gonna be developed, I thought a lot of that might fall on us.
Yeah, yeah.
It would be like going lot by lot by lot to determine this, but, you know,
Correct.
based on all the feedback that DHCD got from the towns that are affected by this, they decided to develop this model so that it's, you know, everybody is, you know, all the standards apply to all the towns equally.
Yeah.
in the
Again,
same way.
I'm concerned. I don't want you to spend a lot of time going
Well-
lot by lot.
Oh, no, I'm
sending
not.
information to
That's
them.
why they're doing this model.
Thank you.
But I find this to be a very interesting, kind of exciting project to work on, so.
Okay.
So that's that, you know, keep everybody
Yeah.
appraised of that.
Don't appreciate that.
Yeah.
The parking.
Right.
I feel very strongly that we should not come up with any recommendation to town meeting before we host some public sessions like on Alan's model to get input on what people are thinking about parking. I don't want to unilaterally come up with a suggestion without that public input first, before going to town meeting with a.
Well, this isn't, this is not changing the standards, this is organizing them. If you look in the bylaw now,
Uh-huh.
that, you know, there are some things, you know, if you're gonna park.
Oh,
within the-
oh, I get it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I got it now.
It's all, yeah. if you're
Okay,
gonna
not
park
change it,
within
just
the
reorder it.
Building, you
Got
need a
it.
special permit. If you're gonna do this, you don't. If you need,
Oh,
gonna do
okay,
this, it's
okay.
different. So it's trying to organize
Oh,
all
I
the,
get
it's,
it.
it's completely a mess, I
Okay.
think.
I take back, I withdraw what
Yeah, so
I
that's-
thought it was about changing, because we
No,
remember
no,
the
it's
early
not
discussion about
changing,
changing
right.
the number of parking.
This is not
Sorry.
about changing any
All right.
standards, it's about just organizing it. Yes,
Let's add that as another bullet here.
Right,
To
yeah.
reconsider,
Right,
you know,
yeah.
review
yeah.
our parking standards. And that may, and that just becomes a placeholder for an entire process.
Right,
It doesn't mean
yeah.
us alone. Okay.
Yes.
But let's put that in there.
In
to
fact,
go
I'm
with that.
thinking that, you know, maybe for this one, because it's gonna be so technical and confusing, we might wanna have a work group, just like we did for the OSRD regulations, to work on the parking. And Alan would be a good person to have in that, because
I think Charlie Schultz
Where
is
is-
a good one for that.
yeah, so
All right.
let's perhaps have a working group to work on the parking. But, you know, over the last few months, when I had a few moments in between Threat Hill things, I've been working on it slowly to at least try to move things around. But, so anyway, that's that. One thing, you remember when we had the food truck come in,
Yeah.
we talked about having mobile food establishments addressed under zoning bylaw. I know for a while around that time, there was, you know, Carly was talking about starting a working group to work on that with Bridget especially being applicable for the Board of Health reasons. And it just, you know, sort of petered out, but that's something I think we need to resurrect. Because I suspect we'll be seeing more of that type of business proposal.
Please, Jeff.
Yeah, and I'm more than happy to talk with Carly about this, but it also has an impact on our business community. It becomes an alternative, and that was one of the questions we had to discuss before, because
Right.
to own a brick and mortar store is a commitment much greater than revamping a trailer you found in your yard.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, and the
To
potential-
go on both ends of the
And
spectrum.
Jeff, and the potential returns are much greater as well.
I understand that.
So I
understand that.
remember, we're not in the business to protect anyone's business model.
I'm
per
not.
se.
I'm not asking that we are.
No,
I'm
no.
asking. I'm asking that that everyone who has a place in the community has
Fair
a seated.
enough.
The tent needs to be large enough to include everybody.
Yeah.
That's fair enough.
That's all I'm saying.
Fair enough.
Okay. There's room under the tent. You may not get what you want, but please come to the meeting.
Right,
Right, you can have your
Yeah.
2 cents.
Yes.
Okay, good.
I have a comment about it.
Yeah.
sure.
People aren't gonna like it. I just think that's a waste of time.
I was thinking the same thing.
Why should we step out as a board when we have so many other things that are more important, like inclusionary zoning or affordable housing or all the kinds of things you could name,
Parking.
to make
Well-
an effort, parking, you name it.
Well,
Can I-
So without having had an array of people coming into town hall and saying, you know, where can I put my mobile food truck? I don't see any reason to step up and make a zoning change without any pressure for the zoning change.
I would like to take these
I'd
first
take them one at a time.
3 and put them in and rank them. And it sounds
you
like
could
take
rank 'em.
number 1 and put it
I'll make that 100 out of 100.
Yeah.
Down the bottom.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's my
Okay,
question.
well, I just wanted to raise
We
that,
had one
you know, I wanna
situation
see-
that came up.
right.
We ran it through the site plan, we ran it through the questions, and we got to live about it as we did. I'd let that happen, one right after another if we had to, rather than trying
And
to.
doesn't the Grateful Dog have to come back to us this year? Next year?
Oh, yeah, for
It's an
compliance
it's
reasons.
an annual.
Was it an annual thing?
Yeah.
It was an annual thing,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
And I just
Well,
want to
the
say,
prob-
in Mark's defense, I've been encouraging him to come up with the broad list and let us as
I
a
think it's
board to
great.
whittle it down, so just,
Absolutely.
okay, good.
Excellent, yeah.
Yeah, well, the thing about the food establishments is, you know, when you have nothing on the books, you know, it's kind of awkward to try to say, you have to do this, or you need to give us this information, we have nothing in writing to back it up. I don't know,
However,
Okay,
Mass General Law allows hot dog trucks everywhere.
okay, all right.
if we wanted to
They're
spend,
specifically allowed.
I'd amend my comment, if we wanted to spend some time developing a
Hmm?
regulation versus going to a zoning amendment, I'd think about a regulation.
Yeah.
All right,
So
well,
that we had a regulation that we agreed on, this is how it's gonna
we
work.
might want to see, you know, perhaps in the minds of Carly and Bridget, this is no longer a priority at all, perhaps, in which case it would be good for us to know. But I know they were enthusiastic about it at the time when we
Okay.
were reviewing the hot dog stand. So anyway, short-term rentals, that's something that I know that's been floating for like a year and a half now. And I
Yeah,
forgot what
COVID kind of took the wind out of the sales of short-term rentals.
Huh?
COVID kind of took the wind
Oh,
out of the
right.
sales of
Well-
traveling and short-term rentals.
Then, but they're coming back now.
And the thing about short-term rentals and tiny houses, in many ways, tiny houses are taken care of without by It's out of my head.
Accessory?
Accessory dwellings.
Oh.
I was thinking auxiliary dwellings, thank you.
Yes.
Accessory dwellings.
Yeah.
The only, I mean, these are conflated here because of the issue with the small house over on Sandy Pond, and that the larger house was being used as an Airbnb. They went to the zoning board of appeals and didn't get approval, so that's kind of gone. So I have a feeling that that we talked about short. I'd like to readdress this with a little more time. I'm happy to look into it and stuff.
All right.
But the reason I'm interested in this is it is a source of income to the town from a taxation standpoint. And if we have a regulation, we're able to take advantage of that. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, I think, allows 12.5%, and we can add to that. So if we're going to allow it, it has to be above board, and it becomes a source of revenue, which I think is fair.
Yeah.
I think that
Jeff,
Yeah.
can I be burdensome and ask you to take the lead on this one at the Airbnb? The tiny
Yeah,
house?
what I'll do is yes, I'm happy to. What I'll do is I'll pull together the last memo I put together about it, and we'll take a look at it again and decide if it's something we want to take on.
I think these three, again, I think, well, food established, sure. These three should be assessed in priority, and I think
Which, when you say three, I count two.
Well, it's really two. We took the X. We weren't whittling. We were
So we have the
chopping.
mobile food establishments
Yeah,
and the
short-term rentals, also the accessory dwelling. you
Oh,
throw in
okay, the
there,
tiny houses, okay,
the tiny houses. The overlay I would use to evaluate our priority is how much, what will be the influx and the change in demographic as far as residences in this town. What are we going to see when Devon's develops? What are we going to see as transportation develops? I think there's going to be a change in needs of smaller homes for people. We talk about for less cars. That should be the overlay that we use to determine what we're going to address.
And I don't know if you recall, MRPC is actually doing work on the way of cottage-style housing, which are more accessible housing, smaller footprint housing, more densely packed.
Yeah.
Kind of an OSRD,
Yeah.
downsized OSRD. And I know Karen Chapman and I've forgotten the director's name. Glenn Eaton, thank you, have been working on that, and we're kind of waiting to hear on that. So I would actually recommend that we don't rush the gates too much because they're doing a lot of work. And actually, I sent to them a bunch of the research I was doing and other people were doing about it. So,
Yeah.
but I agree with you. It's not.
Yeah, I
it's
think
not a
that-
critical issue.
I think that, to make a comparison, this MBTA communities thing,
Hmm?
that's putting a foundation in place that if developers want to do something,
Right.
we have the framework in place for developers. What I'm saying is that there's going to be economic drivers that we're going to enter in. Are we going to enter into another Gilded Age where there's going to be demand for small housing, and we
Mhm.
better be ready with regulations for that.
I agree. But as I said, the Regional Program Council is actually working on a region-wide overview, which may be able to, instead of reinventing the wheel or inventing the wrong wheel,
Yeah, leverage that.
leverage it. Yeah.
Then we have under miscellaneous zoning and other blasting and rock removal regulations.
Yeah, we do talk about that at one time.
We were talking about that because of the horrible experience we've had along Central Avenue and the expectation that there'll be more blasting at Stratton
Yeah.
Hill
Right road.
and Wright Road.
Yeah.
A hand.
That was the worst.
Yeah.
That was
And
otherworldly.
I think the people who were forcing the groups to go that route to prove that blasting was going to be, I think at the end of the day, I'm going to guess that we've discovered that blasting is the more bearable alternative than having a machine there going back, 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 back for weeks on end.
Months.
So,
2 years.
I also think we've come some time. People recognize that what's left for land in this town is going to be a challenge.
It's
Put a
either
foundation.
wet or it's hard.
Yeah, it's going to
Yeah.
be to put a foundation underneath. I actually
Right.
think we're going to start seeing foundationless building. It's
Oh, yeah.
so
Yeah.
prevalent in the rest of the
Right.
world. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I put reduced density bonuses there because, you know, I still feel, I think we need the affordable housing one because that fulfills a big need. But the other ones I think are extraneous and like solar-ready housing.
Yeah.
I think we're making the subdivisions potentially too dense. And what density bonuses are really geared for, and I wish Judy Barrett had grasped this, is for towns that have optional OSRD. So in order to get people to
Yeah.
even go OSRD compared to a conventional subdivision, you want to give them incentives. But where it's already mandatory, as it is in Ayer, I don't think we need as many bonuses. That's my opinion. I want to keep the affordable housing one though, because that fulfills a big community need. But, you know, the solar ready and one or two of the other ones, you know, it's like they have to do that sort of stuff anyway as part of good design. So to me,
May I
it's
ask a
like
question?
rewarding them and, you know,
This is going to require a change in the bylaw.
that would require.
So
change
ultimately,
in the
this is
bylaw.
going to have to probably go to fall town meeting, which means we have a little bit of time to do it.
Right.
I am.
We can think about it.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that how many of our OSRDs have taken advantage of the density bonuses?
Amazing,
Uh,
isn't it?
Well, actually,
One.
Just Alma, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
No.
25%.
No.
Not Aho.
Yeah,
Panther
yeah,
Place.
Panther
Yeah.
Place.
One-
Panther
one.
We
Place.
got 2 units, I think.
What?
So
One
what-
is taking advantage of density bonuses.
Right.
Have they taken their max bonus? No. I agree that we should take a look at the different bonuses we offer for density, and that we could probably modify.
I agree.
And the argument is, he could have done 100. He did 39. He
Well,
stayed with what he did.
yeah, But
So yeah.
a lot of the land that's left, you know, is smaller. I mean, there's a potential
Yeah.
for several like subdivisions in like 20 acres,
Yeah.
25 acres, relative, quite small compared to what we've seen.
But-
But if you stick all these density bonus units on such small tracts, it's going to be, you know,
And I would be willing to
Why is
discuss.
it's not
density
going to look
bad?
good.
Why is
No.
density
We
bad?
have a disagreement.
Yeah, we do have a
Well,
disagreement. 'Cause I'm
I just think
actually
he
very
gives,
favorable
you know,
of density.
Yeah,
Well,
and but and I
for a
would.
couple-
I
number of
think
reasons.
the right type of density is good, like in the 40B, but I think a single-family home subdivision, sometimes you need a little more space.
I do not like that statement.
Yeah, yeah,
What?
yeah.
So we're gonna only want to put people in close housing that has, I don't even know what I wanna choose as a word for 40Bs, I'm sorry.
Affordable.
But
Oh,
if,
attached units.
if you can afford, you don't necessarily see the,
So-
yeah, I
I
can't
don't
say
like
it, but I don't like it.
So I just want to make the point that tonight's discussion is really just building the list. We don't have to
Yeah, we're
resolve
not-
any of these.
No.
Right.
But
I
and
think
so
we should. I
but
think we should
think-
revisit density bonuses.
We'll
Absolutely.
revisit it, yeah.
We
let's
should
not go
look at
down
that.
The whole,
You just got thrown a life preserver, Mark.
No, but
Yeah, thank you.
because obviously it's look, the issue of density is exactly the kind of issue the planning board should be discussing.
Yeah.
yeah.
And there are differences in opinion and philosophy here, and we should hash them out.
And density goes with tiny houses. Density goes with cottage type
Oh,
building.
yeah.
There's
I think
lots of
certain
density
types-
ways to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not hey, I live in a quarter acre in Nashua, and I really like it for the most part, except when my neighbors have loud parties sometimes.
So I got
So,
anyway.
one quick comment on the density bonus.
Yes.
And I'm gonna take the other side of the coin, okay? Well, I'd like to say 2 things about this miscellaneous stuff. The second one is gonna be about affordable housing. The first one is gonna be about density bonuses, and I'm gonna tie the density bonuses into a different style of housing, which is what we saw someplace else, where if you build a cottage-style home
Yeah.
development,
Yeah.
you are eligible to more density bonuses for keeping the homes below a certain
Oh,
size.
yeah,
Exactly.
I can
Yes.
see that,
An
I can see
absolute
that.
flip, okay?
Right.
I
So if you build
definitely
all
see that.
houses that are 1,200 square feet or under, there is something
Right.
like this in the North Shore,
Yeah.
that they were given density bonuses.
Yeah.
1-car garages,
Right.
1,200 square foot house,
That's,
and on
So-
certain parcels.
That I
You
can
tie
live with.
density to form, then, right? Is
You
it-
tie
Sure.
it,
Yeah, yeah.
density to form in that
it's
case.
when you get these, you know,
That's
big
interesting.
houses on these smaller
Yeah.
lots, that's when I
I'm
have
hearing
a
it.
problem.
Yeah.
And,
Or
see that all
the
the
most
time.
egregious example is not a house of an inappropriate sized building on a lot would have to be the damn courthouse across from the library. It's insane the way that looks. It's They just took a design that was meant for a much larger space and they put it right up against the sidewalk. It looks absurd.
Okay.
Well, that was built in one.
But you know, but that's an example of where
Yeah.
the thinking,
Right.
form, and fit should be thought
Yeah.
There
through.
was a day when everyone had stairs, like, elevate up to the court,
Oh, right.
like
Yeah.
the churches.
Yeah.
Now there's no handicap accessibility.
All right.
But the other part of that discussion was, you mentioned something about density bonuses being allowed with affordable housing. But I think you might have misstepped there. It's only allowed under multifamily. The
Affordable
provision is, so as, yeah, it's only, we give an extra unit, we require affordable housing in multifamily.
Oh, and multifamily, but
buildings.
we have a
Right.
density bonus for affordable housing. in
We
the
need to look at
university
each one of them
We do.
individually.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
good.
we do.
Okay, so that's good.
We do.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I
the-
wanna- I
the
would
second
like
part
to
of
get
that, as a member of the Affordable Housing Committee,
Yes.
we just talked about a week ago about potentially coming to the planning board for some more zoning changes. You can put it on your list there.
Okay.
Affordable housing zoning changes of sorts that would encourage different kinds of bonuses and different kinds of
Yes.
density and so forth.
I love encouraging the small units, but.
A big part of that was that when you go to a subdivision, so in the requirement, so we give a subdivision bonus for affordable units, as you just
Yep.
mentioned, okay? However, if the person decides that they don't want to do the bonus, we may like to, the Affordable Housing Committee would like to have people think about a requirement in a sum of money, like, payment in kind, they call it. I
Yep.
believe,
Yeah,
Versus, you don't want to build so for every 10 units you build, you must put an affordable housing unit in, or you will pay a
Right.
payment in kind to the housing trust.
Yes.
Or something along those lines.
Hmm.
That we don't have, I don't believe. We don't have any requirement. We give a bonus
right.
if they put in affordable, but the
There's no penalty.
affordable housing people think there should be a requirement for affordable housing.
And I would agree with you because
Payment in lieu.
payment in lieu. It's
Right.
almost like a pilot, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I agree. We've also come an awful long way
Oh, yeah.
in understanding density and understanding how mixed economics. It makes a lot of sense.
Right.
So I think the world's more favorable for that right now. And I think we need to look at density bonuses and figure it out. I mean, I don't want to drop the solar density. It's already, but maybe it's not quite as generous.
right, yeah, we can.
So,
yeah,
we'll-
Let's,
we'll
let's,
get
yeah,
that.
let's,
Yep.
let-
Well, we'll go-
we agree,
we'll get that
we're
in the
gonna,
future.
the
Yeah.
whole point is just come to agreement to what kinds of things we
Yeah.
want to discuss next
Okay.
year.
That's
All
good.
right.
Planning board rules and regulations, just to
Yeah, I just
review.
thought, well, yeah, because that was one of the first things I did when I was hired, because we had none, where there was like half a page. So we developed those early on in my tenure here. I think it'd just be good to relook at them,
Okay.
like stuff like the process and some of those things, we may want to adjust a little bit. So that's all.
All right, I want to add some things that have to
So
be
yeah,
in
here we can
early on.
add planning boards.
Okay. Municipal vulnerability preparedness. We're the responsible body here, the planning board, and to take leadership on this. And we gotta do it. So that's gotta be on our radar.
We finished that less than 3 years ago.
Finished what part of it?
Municipal
The whole
vulnerability.
plan, or
Yeah.
it doesn't need anything else?
It's in place.
Well, there was.
I don't know how
plan
often.
was put-
I'm not sure how
implementation.
often.
Yeah, I think we
how
need to
often we
look at
have.
that, yeah.
I'm not sure.
The implementation
That's a
plan.
quick question for. I want to say Karen Chapman over at MRPC. She may know, or she can put. But we did that as I took the lead on
It
that
was
3 or 4
adopted,
years ago.
yeah.
So we gotta play, but I think we do
Yeah.
need to look at the implementation, and
Yeah.
where we are with that. Like,
Right,
what are we
yeah.
physically doing? We may have a plan, but like, what have we actually physically done in this landscape
Right.
to be prepared? Devens, that's coming to a head.
Which part?
The disposition, what do we want? Do we want our piece of Devens back? Do we not want it? Do we want some of it? We have to have an opinion, we have to have a say, and that's another biggie.
Does anybody know what county Devens is in?
Several, isn't it? Worcester
It's a
and
trick.
Middlesex.
And
Others.
What?
It's a trick question.
Yeah.
Of course.
Oh, yeah,
So-
it's not really in the county.
No,
It is.
it's in 2 counties.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And then
Worcester and Middlesex.
the other
Yeah.
thing,
You don't think of it as being Worcester County when you drive.
I do.
up.
Oh, right.
so, and the other
Yeah.
thing is the master plan. every 10 years, we gotta redo it. We're obviously not there yet. We're about the midway point. And I was talking to Robert about this. In fact, Robert brought it up to me. Said, obviously, in the future, we're going to the planning board takes the lead on master plan, and didn't last time because of a variety of political reasons. But this is going to happen this time. But I feel very strongly that this would be a good 2023, a good time to do a 5-year review. Like, where the heck are we? And I even have a little bit of a model in my head of how to do it. And my model is very simple. We'd have a small subcommittee, a working group. And I think we'd actually go to literally to the department heads. You know, DPW, fire, police, public health, building inspector, and go, 2 questions, or 3. Where are we in terms of the goals that are articulated? 2, where are the gaps that are missing? And 3, what might we do different in the next iteration of the master plan? So it doesn't have to be overly burdensome, but I do think it needs to be done. I'm volunteering myself to be involved in this, and I'm looking for help, just frankly. So think about, you know, if anyone here would be interested in working with me on this in the next few months. But I'm going to start doing that.
I would add, how do you make downtown development attractive?
That's it.
As part of that.
Form-based code.
Give me more.
He says tongue-in-cheek.
Free parking in the garage,
Right? You want
MRPC.
we get a lot of attention for these developments out on the edge of town. How do we create a draw for people, for developers who want to come downtown?
You know, it's like newspapers or periodicals. That the reason the advertisers are there is because of the periodical's ability to bring eyeballs. Which is why people advertise regardless of the politics or other things. They just want the eyeballs. And I think that when you say about what makes this town attractive to developers is, well, if we're increasing number, we got this huge 40B coming up. We got Devon's going on. Any developer with half a brain is going to go, where the hell's the opportunity? And that's what's going to draw them in. So I think we have to be cautious that we don't have to put on the perfume and the bows. That if the fundamentals are right, the investors will come.
They've been coming for years.
There have been many developers or many projects that have come to town, and I mean the discussion about parking on West Main Street in the form-based code district out there was created by a proposal that someone is bringing to the town for a new opportunity out there. With change in the current economic situation, they backed away.
Yeah.
So
they all, I mean, we talked to Mr. Berry 18 months ago remotely, right? Nothing that fizzled, died on the vine. Just, you know, all they seem to die.
it still requires outside money to build,
That's right.
and that it becomes an interesting gray area. 2 of our small A affordable opportunities here in town have recently changed hands, removing small A affordable from our town. There's a gray area on who's responsible for that, and has generated some real angst-driven conversations about
Absolutely.
that. Because we ultimately are working in an open market system. So
In recognition of the hour, I don't want to stay much longer, but I do. Just turn
Yes.
to you in a second.
Thank
There
you.
are 2 pieces of business I want to get to, and I can't forget. Remember, I want to make a comment about Air Solar 2, and then Nathan has an idea about transit matters. I hope you would share with us. I didn't mean to put
I
you on
can
the
postpone
spot.
it if you want.
No, but just it's brief enough. Air Solar 2 is I just had a conversation with Heather that she's been out there and she's going to go out there tomorrow. That the stormwater construction there does not conform to the stormwater plan we got. And Mark, I need to know what the next step is. I mean, what is our enforcement authority here with them? It apparently is not in conformance, and they have not come to us with a revised stormwater plan. What's going on?
I noticed tree boxes. Looks like 3 boxes are going in.
I mean, frankly,
Nowhere near where I thought they were
I
going.
think they're working. I don't even know if the engineering firm is aware of what's going on with the decisions they're
Well, he
making on the
assured me that he was coming to, in fact, he might be at our
Yeah.
next meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry.
December meeting.
Well, I you know what? I think that your communication to Rohit is that it
Okay.
has to be
Thank-
firmer than that. It's not like
Excuse me.
may. It's
May I
like-
make a motion,
You will.
Mr. Chair?
Please.
May I've moved that we ask on behalf of the planning board, that Mr. Archambault sends a letter to Rohit, informing him by email, that sends a letter to Rohit, cease and stop work.
That's right. I think it's come to that. We've done a site visit a few
So
months ago.
Second
I
the
make a
motion.
motion
I second
that
the
we send a
motion.
letter, stop work letter.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion.
I would just ask Mark, is there any reason we should not do such a thing?
I want to consult with Dan and Heather, who's been overseas, Heather has been sort of like out there with the
Right.
site coordinator first, but yeah, I mean, if
Well,
that's
why
what the
not?
board-
I wouldn't want.
I would
to
request,
I-
Mr. Chair, I would
actually-
request that you write him a brief note after the town planner speaks to the other people he wants to
Yeah.
talk to, but that we let
All
I
work associations.
forgot Mr.
So-
Rohit's last name. Rohit's last name.
But I think the way
Mr.
you
Grant,
phrase it is
yeah.
that we're aware that
Done.
the work being conducted for the stormwater management plan, stormwater management does not conform to the plan submitted to us. This is a cease and desist. That will be in place until you come to us and we have a discussion and we approve. That's it.
We have a
'Cause
motion
this is
and a
ridiculous. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Stayed.
Abstain? We have 3 ayes and an abstention. Are you writing this? I need this
Yeah.
down for the notes.
Yeah,
'cause-
okay. 3 ayes.
Heather, by the way, agreed that she would finish the notes, review the video for the portion.
Oh, okay.
So we're grateful to Heather for that. Thank you, everybody.
All
So
right.
that's Air Solar 2.
You have Ken come back in the room.
Yes, ask Ken to come in.
Mr. Diskin.
Oh, please, I'm sorry, Jeff,
That's
I
okay.
cut you off earlier enough.
No,
to
it's
come back to you.
it's real
Go
short.
ahead.
As we're coming to the end of another year, we've had a really busy year this year,
Yeah,
and I'm willing to take a portion of this on. How about an update on all the projects we've got going on in town?
yeah.
The propane farm did all the
it's done.
site work. One day I drove by, the trees were there. Next day I drove by, I called Mr. Diskin on the phone and goes, oh yeah, that happened the other day.
Oh.
I don't go down Groton Shirley Road all the time.
Right.
But I think it would be nice if we went out, if we kind of touched all the bases. Ahos, to Carolus, what's going on down here on the 4 units, Ayer Solar 2, just where are we on all the projects in town? I think it'd be a nice little end of year update.
Yeah.
Yes, I'd appreciate that. And just to set up Nathan, and this, I don't think will take long, is that I received an email from Nathan, and he mentioned a group called Transit Matters. And they want to develop, they want to organize communities to get together to put pressure to make dramatic changes to the MBTA. And there's take it from there, Nathan.
Yeah, so I reached out to Trans Matters, an advocacy group, they're a 5013C, that has put together some I think top quality white papers. I sent links to everyone. They have last year they released a broad paper on electrification of the entire MBTA, and which included all the benefits, most notably shorter transit times. The other thing that's required with all that is to change to all elevated platforms throughout the system,
Wow.
which would mean there'd have to be work done in air. They offered to come and give a presentation. My suggestion is that we have a joint presentation with the board, the select board, and my question is to them, why will they make a difference? What is going to really make some change happen? Because I think that air is not unique, extraordinarily unique, but it is one of the towns in Massachusetts that is right on the MBTA line, and I think that is a tremendous asset to the economy of this town, and I think it's a detriment that we are still operating. You'll see in the end, if you read the end of their papers, we are operating in the 1950s mode.
So it's your understanding is that they'd be willing to come and do that
Yeah.
presentation? So are you looking for us to just say,
Bring it
yeah,
on.
let's try it? Yeah, I'm all for it. I would love to have a presentation.
Definitely.
Mark, what needs to be done to organize something with the select board like that?
call Carly and see
You
what
want to do
their-
that, Nathan?
Yeah, see what
Yeah.
their schedule is.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Do you mind?
Yeah.
And see what this, and then
Yeah.
let's work it out, because I'd love to hear it, because the logic is profound. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that our future is tied to rail. I mean, so, yes, please
So-
go ahead, Chuck.
It fits with the master plan.
Yep,
It fits with affordable housing. It fits with
MBTA communities.
MBTA communities.
Mhm.
I will also tell you that in the recent ribbon cutting for our new train station, which is phenomenal, little place down there at the end, the discussion about the platform being raised and being brought up to accessible
ADA
code,
compliance.
ADA
Right.
compliance is already on the books.
For bikes too.
Bikes too, but it's becoming truly a multimodal
Yeah.
train station. You don't have to go far. Shirley, no. Fitchburg, yes, and beyond. Those are modern stations, and so I think it'd be a heck of a good thing to do.
Yep.
And I think that might be helpful in getting the select board's interest.
Yeah.
Good. So thank you, Nathan.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Motion to adjourn?
Good night, everybody.